get dust on the floor. My advice to you, don't try to get smoke. Watch me go flip like a bank, bro. I'ma go flip like a bank, bro. Moving so fast cause I ain't slow. Picking them up like a Django. I'm telling you, I'm really past insane mode. And I gotta work it on my brain, though. Don't tell her how far I'll go, so they better lie low. Mind racing, I'm crazy, I'm just a psycho. No, tell her how far I'll go, so they better lie low. Mind racing, I'm crazy, I'm just a psycho. Yeah, 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 yeah. Psycho. Yeah, 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 yeah. Mind racing, I'm crazy, I'm just a psycho. Yeah, 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 yeah. Psycho. Yeah, 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 yeah. Excuse me, like you have no manners. The man of my city, you're mapped up. So many of your critics been jealous, I'm lit.
It is time for week 3 of the League of Legends here at Belong Arena Clash. My name is Stanley Greyheart Barker. I'm of course joined by the wonderful Stuart Sin McLeod, and this week we've got a working league client. We've not got any sloths on the caster desk, and it's going to be great.
Well, we're locked in for some League of Legends tonight, assuming there is no issues with the client. Yet again, we had a couple crashes during the week. I'm hoping it holds out for tonight, but we want to see these games get done. We want to see a full set this time around. Unfortunately, I only got one game of each last time. And of course, we've got two different entirely matchups than last week. We're going to be moving on to the third group.
We're going to be looking at the Cardiff Saints taking on the Bradford Rams. We're going to be seeing the Ballymena Bears going up against the Humber Hunters later in the evening. We're going to have an opportunity as well to have a little look and see how the groups are looking. Very similar to how they stood last week, because some of the games were uncompleted. I believe some of the games have been completed earlier on today, but not yet updated onto the group. So, you know, we'll be able to see exactly what those standings are very shortly.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Group 1 that we look at now, none of the matches changed last week. But this is Group 4, the group we're going to be looking at today. So this is Humber Hunters sitting in first place as they took out the Clyde Claymores, interestingly enough. We're going to be seeing them later on. Yeah. As we said, Group 1 unfortunately didn't change last week, as none of the matches were completed. We did see, however, London Lionhearts take a game off of the Spartans and Portsmouth Pirates. I believe they had a game taken off of them as well.
You could well be right on that one, but that one we updated just as soon as we can. As we get into next week, it'll look quite interesting because we'll get not only last week's updated games, but this week's as well. We'll
Big
get
changes.
A really, really good idea of what's going to be happening going towards the playoffs, because we'll be so close to that stage. In Group 2, as you can see, the Saints and the Steelers, they are still atop the table alongside the Rams, who we are seeing in action. So that's a top-of-the-table clash between the Cardiff Saints and the Bradford Rams that we are going to be seeing first of all today. The Enigmas, they've just got that one loss. Harriers. Kingston already with 2 defeats.
Of course, Saints versus Rams is very exciting. Both of these teams haven't really shown much in the past, and we'll have to see how they match up against the Steelers, who are, of course, the finalists of the last 2 seasons.
Moving into Group 3, as you can see, the Centurions are down right at the bottom of the table, having those 2 defeats to their names. The Smugglers, the Leviathans, the Invincibles, and the Nighthawks, all very much so still in contention to try
That
to
was
get to
the
the playoffs.
other game we watched last week, the Invincibles versus the Smugglers. Invincibles did take game 1. Smugglers getting hard out drafted. We're going to have to see how that matchup does continue, because, of course, Smugglers do need to pick up both wins in that series to come back, and of course likely to be playing tonight as well. So there's going to be big changes to this table, big changes for them, because right now it looks like they're in danger, but it could just suddenly spike to 2-1.
We saw it briefly before. Here it is again, Group number 4 at the top of the table. You see the Humber Hunters. They're going up against bottom of the table, Ballymena Bears. Later on in our broadcast, definitely be looking for the Bears to try and make some kind of upset. That's what the Claymores will be hoping for. They're on the same number of points as the Hunters, but they've played 1 game more.
Of course, the Hunters having beaten the Claymores in their game against each other, which was surprising considering the Claymores' pedigree in the past few seasons. But the Humber Hunters coming in with something to prove here, really try and take this group by storm. Of course, we've got the Tyneside Guardians, who have been consistent performers, and the Clyde Claymores, who are the former champions. So if they can top this group, it does look very impressive for them. It says a lot for that new team, and we're excited to see if they can compete in the playoff stage later on.
Yeah, Humber certainly look to be coming in as one of our most improved, most strengthened
definitely.
teams, and it will be interesting to see whether or not they can carry that form through. We get our first opportunity to see just what they're like on the Rift a little later on this evening in their best of 3. However, first of all, we've got to turn our attention to the matter of hand in the red corner. It's the Cardiff Saints, in the blue corner, the Bradford Rams, and this has all the makings of an absolute classic Belong Arena clash.
We'll see the lineups right here. Of course, Cardiff Saints, Silver Serpent, Robster, 714, Savonix, Ikbar, Kronos, and Title Enigma.
Over on the Bradford Rams, we see Dryden, we see DeLorean, Myrtle, Kutas, Tequila, Miyako, and Mephisto.
It's Mako.
Is it?
You've done LPL broadcasts before. It's Mako.
Don't do me like that. Let's not bring up Theshi, okay?
That tilted me so hard, because
it was so hard.
It was one of the Shy's first games in China, and then it's just yeah, this guy Theshi seems pretty interesting.
Could you not? Literally my most embarrassing moment as a caster, and that is saying quite a lot. We looking there, we've got essentially what might be the new drinking game here on Belong Arena Clash. Every time that like Bradford Rams make a play, and Tequila has said that's you've got to have yourself a nice drink of water.
Yeah, it'd be of course water, just water.
Of course,
nothing else.
Maybe an energy drink. An energy drink might be acceptable.
Oh, you want to go for some Boomer Juice? Let's go.
Well, it would certainly suit me. We're going to be looking at this game today. I mean, obviously, we've still got an opportunity in a moment to see the drafts when we get into Champ Select.
Yeah.
We've got these 2 teams who are top of the table. Got any gut instincts looking at the lineups so far?
None at all, honestly. This is a really interesting clash. We haven't really seen either of these 2 teams' strengths yet, so I want to see how they do play out, how they do try and play the games.
It's very refreshing to come in without those expectations set. We're into pick and ban.
Okay, so permaban champions right now, Ornn, Aphelios, and Soraka's been nerfed, so no longer Soraka, it's Set tends to be the 3rd ban, but you have to watch out for your Yumis, and what we've been seeing more and more, every scrim in Europe is having this issue right now. It's being plagued by Senna, AD carry with support item, and a full farm support who is full tanks. So you have either the
like
Aftershock...
Or...
No, it's really 2. It's the Aftershock Tarek, who goes Athene's first item, or it's the Tom Kench that rushes Deadmans into Spirit Visage.
Yuck.
No support item, they just take all the CS.
Well, we've got one of those champions that you were talking about earlier on being
Ornn's first pick here, isn't he?
Set has been taken away. Certainly looks like Ornn could very easily be picked up by the Cardiff Saints. We had a lot of talk about this champion last week in the couple of games that we had to deal with, but it's certainly not being hovered yet. But now it is, and it's of course locked in. The Cardiff Saints get themselves the highest win rate percentage in the game.
Yes, so it has been nerfed a little bit. We've seen the Cinderhawk be nerfed. Mordekaiser is one of the best matchups into it, but he still loses. He can get 1v1'd in Death Realm by the Ornn. Even if he steals all of Ornn's tank stats, Ornn does percentage max health, so it's very difficult. However, Mordekaiser can look to transition into team fights, skirmishes, he can pick up kills onto weaker champions really easily. If he just runs down the AD carry, he forces out the QSS. So I'm really interested to see if he can utilize that pick to try and snowball in the mid game before Ornn really comes well and truly online.
While I feel it's entirely likely that Mordekaiser is going to be going into the top lane, like you say, it's one of the few things that it's not a counter matchup, but it's a decent matchup into the Ornn, and you'd feel like maybe they would have banned the Ornn if they didn't have something prepared into it. That can also be flexed into the mid lane, into the jungle as well. Speaking of jungle, we've had ourselves a Nunu locked in alongside the Syndra.
So the Nunu is... Okay, Nunu is one of the most cheesy junglers in the game. Everybody level 2 ganks. Aftershock level 2 gank on Nunu, you just try and chain gank with the W and set every lane ahead, just even because they've got pressure in their lanes. That is how you win out if you're playing the Nunu. But the thing I'm looking at right here is how effective, and we sort of hovered there for just a second, is Trundle jungle in this matchup. Because it's a counter to the full tank Nunu, it's a counter-ish to the Ornn, and we're likely to see a tank support in this game as well, so it could be very effective.
Question marks here where you look and go, right, if you've put that hover up, now it's going to be in the mind of the Saints, potentially wanting them to ban it away, maybe just trying to make them waste a ban, and that's exactly what they do.
I don't even think it was trying to get them to waste a ban. I think it was a mistake. They were discussing, we're going to pick Trundle later, and somebody hovered it, and they go, no, not now, not now.
If that is
because
true,
they need a support there.
Unfortunate for the Bradford Rams if that is the case. Of course, the Syndra itself can be flexed down into the bot lane, so it's entirely possible ADC role has already been taken by the Cardiff Saints, but we'll see whether or not one's going over to Savonix or not.
So very few anti-tank junglers left in the game, unless you're like a red Kayn player, you play a lot of Kayn, you can afford to go that into the Nunu-ish, but even so, it's still a rough matchup in those early phases. So it's, what do you really have that does well into tanks, does well in the early phases? And that is Xin Zhao that they are choosing to answer this with. But what I'm looking at right now, and I want to look at this quite deeply, is the Caitlyn Nami. Caitlyn plus a ranged support is one of the most dominant bot lanes right now, so you have to really consider what you're pairing it with. And I'm looking at the Syndra to actually rotate into the bot lane with the Leona. And I think that would be a really interesting combo to see the two of them with a huge range, huge CC setup, with a Nunu who's known for his early game ganking at level 2, level 3, just to blow up that Caitlyn Nami and get full control over bot side.
I think Saints now are going to be able to show their hand. The Yasuo, if it's locked in, of course, is a double flex along with the Syndra, so it seems exceptionally likely that that Syndra will end up exactly as you were talking about. Now, this is where the Rams kind of have to call the bluff. They have to go, are we picking a counter to Syndra, are we picking a counter to Yasuo? You'd assume the answer would be Yasuo, but one last lock-in for the Rams will fill out their composition.
So what I want to see here, you can even put the Mordekaiser into the Yasuo, and Mordekaiser does really well into Yasuo, and flex a top lane into the Ornn. GP is still available. They are going to go Echo. So Echo mid into, I guess they think it was, oh god. I think they got baited here. They thought it was going to be Syndra mid Yasuo bot, but Echo does really well into Syndra, that's why you would pick that. Echo doesn't do so well into Yasuo, who can deny the Time Winder, deny Echo most of his access to CS. And the only real pressure you can have as Echo is in that later stage of the game where you really need to get 2 to 3 items and try and one-shot these pretty immobile carries.
There's 2 or 3 crucial spells you can look at being windwalled as this game goes on and on. The most important of which for me is going to be that tidal wave coming out of Nami.
It's definitely a big denial, but of course, if Nami's throwing her ult out just as the only engage tool they've got, that's a real issue. She needs to be throwing up as a supplementary engage, where the wind wall might have already been used, or you force it out just to block that. And Yasuo is generally further back. He's not normally on the front line at that point, so it doesn't necessarily block it from everybody. I think the Nami is useful here, and the Nami wave does have a lot of pressure, especially in those sort of 2v2s, 3v3s, where Yasuo might not be involved. But it's how they utilize this bot lane. If this bot lane gets far ahead and doesn't get picked off by the Nunu, they can try and snowball. If they have any issues and they start to fall behind, we know what Syndra can do when she's given a little bit more gold investment than the Caitlyn.
All right, Sin, I do want to come a little bit more back to those compositions in just a moment, but it's that time of the week where I show my slight, I won't call it lack of knowledge, but naivety in terms of some things, and I have my classic question of the week. I know the Ornn and the Yas are on the same team here. I know that the Braum Shield is great for, playing up against the Ornn ult. Does Windwall stop the call of the Forge God?
Windwall does, yes. But, of course, they're on the same team as you say here.
I realise it won't happen this game. But
yes.
It was just an interaction I wasn't sure
The Windwall does stop the Ram in its tracks. The Windwall will cause it to disappear, same as the Braum Shield does. The only real wall that doesn't really get rid of projectiles in that sense is the Pantheon. He only really blocks like a Ezreal Q. He makes his hitbox larger in that state, so he can block skill shots, like of course Elise Cocoon as well, being another one of those sort of ones that stops on the first target. But anything that goes through a target, that's where the wind wall just gets rid of them completely.
Well, thank you for enhancing my knowledge. Coming back to the compositions, looking at the Caitlyn Nami, you were hoping there might be an opportunity for them to get snowballing. Is that the most important lane for the Bradford Rams?
Yes, completely. Mordekaiser just goes even. Echo might be pressured out, but he can still be relevant if he just keeps up in CS, and even if he falls down 20, that's fine. Caitlyn Nami, if they fall behind, are useless in the mid to late stages. You know Caitlyn's mid-game trough well. It's been talked about many times over the years. Caitlyn, strong early game, weak mid-game, strong late game. She needs so much time or so much investment to get to that late game stage where she needs to be taking down tower shards. She needs to have an advantage. It's why Caitlyn Karma's been so dominant over the years. But if you get a Syndra who spikes far earlier than the Caitlyn, it's like the laning is roughly even, and then Syndra spikes way higher, way earlier, then Caitlyn just has no opportunity to ever catch up. Also, even though Syndra may level out and Caitlyn can overtake her eventually, they're never going to get to that point.
I'm looking on the Rams team as well. There's so many squishy targets for a Syndra's Unleashed power to potentially take out.
Definitely, Echo, of course, isn't really the... Echo, of course, is the only real target that can't hit with that as effectively. Xin Zhao can maybe use his ultimate to block it. But blowing up a Caitlyn or a Nami, or even just a Mordekaiser straight away, is going to be very effective. The one issue I do have, Mordekaiser is going to build a lot of magic resistance. He's against an Ornn. You actually need to build defensive stats against an Ornn, even if you are an aggressive champion like a Sett. Even if you're playing like a full AD champion like a Fiora, you need to go for Mercury Treads against the Ornn. So I'm interested to see how that does work out there, because it means that Syndra does a lot less damage to him. Syndra has a lot less targets. So she becomes, as the game goes on, a lot more about control, a lot more about denial of entrance points to the Nami, to the Caitlyn, so that they can fight around choke points effectively, because that's where Echo wants to fight. If you can deny access, easy kills.
All right, the teams are completely drafted. They've done everything they can to prepare themselves going onto the Rift in this table 2 top of the table clash. You certainly seem to think that the Cardiff Saints have set themselves up in a winning formula. I probably would have said that the second that the Ornn was locked in.
Yes.
But, you know, the question is to you out there in Twitch chat, do you agree? Is this going to be a hashtag Rams win, or is it going to be the greatest Ram up in the top lane that takes them down?
It's all on the Caitlyn and the Echo, those two champions in my opinion. If Echo can go off, get 2 to 3 kills, it's really hard for a Syndra to ever get into the game, because Echo is constantly this existential threat, and if the Caitlyn falls behind, then she's completely worthless. It's about Echo if he can go off, and Caitlyn if she can fall behind. Because if Caitlyn goes even, she can still do okay. Caitlyn can still provide quite a lot. But if Caitlyn even starts to get a hint, a lick behind, she's done.
I could be wrong on this one, but I was having a little look at the summoner spells there in the bot lane. I'm pretty sure that Syndra's running Teleport while Leona's taking Ignite. I think we've got Heal on the Caitlyn, Exhaust on the Nami. So a real, yes, that is exactly how it is. A real difference of summoner spells, much more defensive on the side of Bradford Rams.
Of course, Syndra has much more wave control than the Caitlyn, so she can afford to go for the Teleport. Just get one of those cheap recalls early. Seems like they are going to 5-man stack, maybe catch out the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, both teams look like they were starting something up. However, Mord has gone up into the top lane, and if he is left isolated, gets caught out at all here, he could be in quite a lot of trouble. He has popped,
got a ward there.
He has indeed popped down a ward in the Tri-Brush, so this 5-man stack is going to get immediately spotted out. Echo and Mord will be safe.
If you're going for a 5-man stack, one of you needs to go sweeper. This is pretty standard right now, because they are all spotted.
Interestingly though, Jhin has decided to complete that recall and go back up into the top side of the map, so this could still be dangerous for the Rams.
Dalaran, of course, had some issues. He had to go back to base, but Syndra going to be able to scout out on her own here, actually.
I think
what
happened with the Jhin there was that he put down his ward down on the bottom half of the map, went back, picked up the sweeper, and then was just going to start on his red side. However, that invader's really scuppered the plans of the Rams, and they're looking a little unsure of where to start.
Yeah, of course they were spotted out though, so it means that bot lane is free to get a leash off. And we'll have to see if Nunu's going to start on the bot side as well. They are, of course, spotted, so full knowledge to Bradford Rams. Actually, more knowledge given to the Bradford Rams than the Cardiff Saints there. So it seems like a really poorly committed invade.
It looked very, very good at first, but actually in the end the Rams are the ones who come off better, having placed down the correct vision in the red side of the Cardiff Saints jungle. So it's going to be a slightly slower start there on the back of the leash for the Nunu, but it won't be too long before Nunu and Willop are farming up a storm.
So as we said, one of the key points in the Nunu is looking for where he ganks in the early phases. As we're actually seeing Xin Zhao walk into the Tribrush bot side. He's looking for a cheeky gank already, maybe even to just respond to the Nunu.
I think that's exactly what it is. There is entirely the possibility that this Nunu could come around. Instead, we often see Jhin going in, has the Audacious Charge, forces the flash out of the Leona. Zenith Blade is going to be there, and that's going to be Fiske getting away to safety just about. It was actually the Syndra flash, not the Leona. Overall, a nice trade for the Rams.
Really nice move there, but he does end up slowing down his pace quite dramatically, so they need to try and capitalize on this. And now Nunu spotted out by that ward that was in Tri as well, so he's not going to be able to get off that early gank that we were saying he needed in the bottom side. Some nice control exerted by Dejin already. Yeah,
the Rams definitely doing a nice job, and they're going to have to continue to do that if they want to go against your prediction of the fact that they may have been somewhat out-drafted here in this game. We are going to see that first scat of the week catching onto the Caitlyn, just like that. Mako is going to take quite a lot of health damage, and Dryden having a rough time up against the Ornn. Look at those health bar disparities.
It's actually going really well in terms of trades for Samwise, but the issue is the CS, and that's just being picked up entirely by Dryden. So he's not really able to get control of the lane at this current time. He's just trying to let it be shoved into him, maybe give Nunu the opportunity to get a free gank up here, which of course be amazing for the influx and golden experience. I think that is what they are looking for right now.
That is exactly what is coming in. Dryden does have the flash available. I'm not sure it's going to be enough though. The greatest ever snowball is coming in. Dryden dodges away from it, levels up, manages to restore a little bit of health, but it is not enough. First blood comes in for the Ornn. Meanwhile, big gank in the mid lane, and Tequila gets a kill on Zavonix.
So a nice gank from the Nunu, but responded really well by a play mid from the Xin Zhao. I can actually see what Samwise was doing there. He was allowing the wave to stack up. He was allowing Dryden to push, knowing that the Nunu has a lot more gank threat than, of course, a Xin Zhao does onto an Ornn. So it makes it so much easier for them to pick up that kill. And even though they've got a slight gold lead, it has been held onto quite well by the Xin Zhao.
Massive damage there being put down onto Hatims on the back of that bubble, landing from the Bradford Rams.
It's a cheap
support.
recall though. He's got the TP available, so he can just get back to this really quickly, and Caitlyn cannot. So this is where he gets a really solid back. He gets some mana for himself as well, comes right back, has more control. And he's going to force Caitlyn to get an awful base timing because of the TP advantage.
That's pretty clever coming out of the Cardiff Saints. They are actually playing very, very nicely across the map so far. Obviously getting all that extra gold from the first blood was very crucial for me that Tequila was able to equalize that kill score so quickly though.
I actually disagree with the pickup though. I think he should have gone for a another Doran's Ring on top of on top of a refillable.
Yep.
And that would have given him complete control over the spot lane. Really nice gank timing.
Here comes the snowball. Zenith Blade is going to catch. The snowball is released and the knock-up is there onto the Caitlyn, and Mako's in all sorts of trouble. One last snowball thrown through. Hatims picks up the kill.
And a really good utilization of the TP timing there to get control of the wave, force Caitlyn to respond because she has to get control again. She has to try and play aggressively, otherwise her recall timing is messed up. TP advantage in a lane generally equates to about a 12 CS lead. Savonix though caught out again.
Audacious charge, and just like that, DeLorean gets a first kill of this game onto the Xin Zhao.
Hasn't got any vision in the river, so can't really spot this one out, and this should have been called by the fact that Nunu was playing so heavily towards the bot side that they know it can't, that the Xin Zhao has to be on the top side of the map.
DeLorean looking for the steal, is going to get the kill onto Leona, but Dragon secured by Nunu, who is in turn going to die. That is now 3 kills in the space of a minute going over to the Rams jungler.
Well worth for the Bradford Rams here, as a nice kill picked up there by the Nami onto the Syndra is going to finish that one off. And Bradford Rams, they're working this out in the early game off of some really nice plays from this Xin Zhao.
Crucially, however, not a single one of the 5 kills, not even an assist, has gone over to the Caitlyn, who has fallen somewhat behind the Syndra.
Yeah, the Caitlyn is at the point in the game where she is going to be useless unless she gets given a bunch of tower shards. But this Xin Zhao and this Echo might be enough to carry her through it. We'll have to see how this one plays out, but they really need to make a play towards that bottom side of the map, towards perhaps the second dragon, to try and get her back into this.
Look at Dryden's health. The Rams top laner about to find a Ram straight on top of his head. Dryden eating so much of his health in damage, but turning it back around. He's going to die right at the end despite the flash. Samwise, he has made the outplay.
And the flash, of course, burned by Dryden. Samwise holding on to his means that that's even more beneficial. And this is the problem right now. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, you can try everything against an Ornn, but you're just throwing yourself at a brick wall. It's like punching Rocky Balboa. Eventually, he's just going to come back and knock you on your ass.
Not the reference I was expecting, but I loved it.
I mean, it is though. It's well, would you want Hulk Hogan?
So much.
It's just Hulk Hogan just shaking violently as he's getting punched.
Oh dear, that is quite an image right there.
Just like that's the thing. Ornn just builds up strength from being punched. Gradually, more and more, he just vibrates more and more as he gets hit, until one point he can clip through the floor. Because he's that busted. That's what he can do. He could just break the game.
Hatim's getting closer and closer to level 6. Gonna have that ultimate available very, very shortly. That can mean a lot of trouble for Mako. We saw Myrtle picking up that kill earlier on for Syndra, and she might well be looking for revenge.
So I'm actually looking forward to seeing if Ornn, when he gets beaten up enough, can pull off the Dragon Wall skip using that wall clip technology that we just talked about. It does save a few seconds, and the Baron any percent really it has been revolutionized by that change.
It's yeah. There's not a lot I can say about that, to be honest. Yes, that is something we will look for.
So we're in a little bit of a lull state right now. There's not going to be much happening until the next Dragon spawn, other than maybe an int fight in the bot lane where Nunu is entering the enemy jungle for no reason when they have full control, prio mid, prio bot. And a top lane with an advantage as well, so there's no reason Nunu should ever enter the jungle there, but trying to get this knock-up doesn't land it.
Just like that, Tequila uses the ultimate, able to get to safety. The important thing there was that Hatims was there with the Scat of the Week, so immediately able to stop any potential engage that was coming in from the Rams. And so far, it's been a really, really tightly contested game. Less than 1,000 gold difference. That might change in a moment because Samwise is looking for yet another kill. Death Realm already used, and this is going to be Mordekaiser trying to bite back, trying to get a kill onto the Ornn. Here comes the Nunu, though, just as the Death Realm expires. Big shield for the Mordekaiser, but is it enough? Bashing that mace down onto multiple targets, trying to get a kill, but it's just not happening. Samwise is 3-0.
The W burn just still far too much to deal with. There's a nice gank by Nunu. Of course, you can't tell that easily when somebody's coming at you from outside of the Death Realm. You don't have your normal vision. It's just those little markers, and he stayed in the brushes to try and avoid being spotted by Dryden on the way in. Seemed to work out for him. Does pick up another kill for the Ornn, who's getting absolutely terrifying, you have to say.
And that is not good news for the Bradford Rams. Not only has their ADC not managed to hit those big power spikes early on, but they have got themselves an absolute menace in the top lane. We talked about it last week, how destructive it was. I believe it was for the Bristol Smugglers when they didn't pick that champion up. It's happened again here. Cardiff Saints able to get their hands on such a crucial champion in the game right now. So
in 3 levels time, that Ornn will be able to 1v1 anybody in the game. That's the situation they're at right now. Especially if he goes for a Bramble Vest now to completely destroy Caitlyn and Xin Zhao's chances of being relevant, that will open up this one wide.
The Cardiff Saints are behind in gold, but it feels like they're starting to get slightly ahead in map pressure. They picked up that first dragon, the Infernal. The Nunu, of course, going to have a massive amount of clear. On this flip side, the Rams are about to get themselves their first neutral objective with Xin Zhao finishing off this Rift Herald.
And that might be enough to try and blow open a few of these plates before the 14-minute mark comes. Generally, in what you're seeing more and more in competitive play, is people, similar to Clutch Gaming at Worlds, are looking to swap for Rift Herald around that 8-9 minute mark. So they put their priority bot lane towards the top side and utilize that effectively. Not really been looked into by the Cardiff Saints, and I feel like it should have been with how far ahead their Ornn is.
Scat of the Week misses, and Zenith Blade is going to go wide as well. As a result, this gank comes to nothing from the Nunu in the bot lane. However, the Ocean Dragon is now here, our second of the game. Remember, it still has that decreased health, so it should be quite easy for whoever starts it up to pick up.
But of course, going for the Ocean Dragon, really not that worthwhile over going for a Rift Herald at this phase of the game. The dragons early just don't matter on their own. The only thing that really matters is that soul.
This is going to be Tequila slightly caught out. That's a nice use of the wind wall, blocking away the tidal wave. Tequila with the ultimate, taking down this Leona. That's going to be DeLorean getting his 4th kill of the game. But Yasuo bites back, Syndra getting 1 as well. 2 for 1 in favour of the Cardiff Saints. Chilling Smite and 1 more whack from Nunu. Robster's going to pick up the kill onto Tequila, and DeLorean is sent running for the hills. Dragon will be secured by the Saints.
And that was the fight we were talking about that we said needed to get Caitlyn back into the game. And unfortunately, it's gone so far in Cardiff's favour. Instead, it's gotten the Yasuo back into the game. He's gotten so much gold off of this fight. Big shutdown gold onto the Ornn of all people as well. Ocean Dragon going over. absolutely huge for the Cardiff Saints. This should have locked down the game for them.
deLorean there flashing over the wall to escape, but then the flash burn by Savonix in response. The flash burn by Samwise, but gets all that extra gold for it. Very, very much so worth.
So looking at this, it's like Caitlyn is locked out of the game now. Caitlyn cannot really commit to fights anywhere near as easily. She's down CS, she's down 2 dragons, she's down tower plates as well. She's really struggling in this lane. And yet, you've got on the other side, the Yasuo, who's now just become extremely relevant. The Ornn, who is going to be extremely relevant for the rest of the game. And this Nunu, who's becoming so tanky. He's really becoming a problem as well. Cardiff Saints are outscaling for one, but they're also out team fighting, as we just saw there.
Right now it feels like all of the eggs are in deLorean's basket for the Bradford Rams. They have got to really play around what this Xin Zhao can do with the potential ganks, but right now I don't see a way of him even shutting down this Ornn.
That's the problem now. He's going for that Sunfire as well. Really nice play here by Savonix. Just gets a actually really good trade for him.
He does.
He's able to just back out.
He backs away just as deLorean approaches as well, keeping himself safe, doing a really, really nice job on this Yasuo. Has got the CS lead. He's getting dove under turret, and with the Ignite down, Tequila is going to make us eat our words. Herald gets placed down as well, and with 1 minute left on these turret plates, someone going to be picked up in the mid lane by the Bradford Rams.
That's the problem. When you utilize your W defensively, you have to be willing to back off, and they get 2 shards onto this Echo, who we said was one of their primary carry threats if the Caitlyn did fall behind.
Tequila dodging forward, dodging back,
Okay,
ending up
smart.
taking an ultimate right into the middle of 4 opposition team, and it's going to be the Solar Flare on top of deLorean as well. Just like that, 2 kills picked up, and guess who they're on? It's the Ornn.
So Ornn aiming his ultimate there at the Echo Shadow, trying to get hit him with the ultimate on the backside of it. Didn't end up working out for him, but the Echo was baited into going back in with his E, thinking he would dodge the Ornn ultimate with that instead, which caused his death, and of course the Xin Zhao getting caught out as well. Caitlyn is picking up a couple shards for this, so is the Syndra, but trading even in gold with a Caitlyn isn't always worth, especially when they'd set her so far behind already. They need to punish her for this.
Oh, here comes the gank trying to stop the recall coming out of the Caitlyn, who's trying to do what they can. Savonix is chasing down, already the exhaust put down by Myrtle. That's going to be enough to get the back off from the Cardiff Saints top laner, mid laner and jungler. We did see some good turret plates being picked up just before the 14-minute mark in the bottom half and the top side of the map by the Rams. However, the Cardiff Saints have now found themselves a 1,500 gold lead, and they are looking stronger and stronger by the minute because of this top lane.
I think Ornn's just had his items upgraded, item purchases interrupted about 4 different times
Right, okay.
by the Mordekaiser. It's just having a real rough time of it. Finally is able to get that chain vest as the Mordekaiser goes back to base.
Robster slowly walking this one out, trying to let his team get the first turret, but it's just not quite going to happen because the minions were not there in time. However, this 4 stack from the Cardiff Saints should be able to get their target pretty soon if they want to.
And the Cardiff Saints just don't need to play this game in a rush now. They know they've got the Ornn who's going to upgrade these items. Upgrading the Luden's Echo, of course, from the Syndra will be huge. You can look at like upgrading the like the Cinderhawk doesn't get upgraded. It's unfortunately the Sunfire, so it's difficult to really get an upgrade here for Robster, but there's just so many different opportunities to get big upgrades on these items that will snowball the game even further and further ahead.
Cardiff Saints are looking good for their top of the table situation. Bradford Rams, of course, level on them with points at the moment. Will be looking to bite back. This is a best of 3 series, so if the Saints are to take game 1, all is not lost for the Rams.
Of course, as you say, best of 3 situation, but they had the counter pick mid this time. They chose to go for these counter matchups. They picked the Xin Zhao into the Nunu. They picked the Echo into the Yasuo. They were comfortable first rotationing this bot lane on the red side, and they were comfortable picking the Mordekaiser into the Ornn as well. These are all matchups where they had the onus in them to make a decision on what is the strongest bot lane in the game, we get to lock it in.
Wow.
What is the strongest matchup into these matchups, we get to lock that in. And unfortunately, they've just lost out.
I do wonder if the Rams got somewhat bamboozled by that Syndra, by the Yasuo pick, thinking the Yasuo was going to be down the bot lane. You talked about it yourself, how the Echo almost seemed like it was being picked into the Syndra, and
But the
things just
Echo's
not
still
working
doing
out.
well into the Yasuo. It is very much a
Valid
skill
point.
matchup, but he is winning out in the skill matchup.
You talked about the decision to take Herald over Dragon earlier on being a good one from the Rams. We've got our second Herald spawning alongside our third Dragon as well. What's the prime target now?
Which dragon is it?
This is a Mountain Dragon, the third of the game for the Saints if they were to get it.
Very good for the Saints because a Mountain Dragon on Ornn is disgusting. I've actually played against an Ornn with 4 Mountain Dragons, and you cannot touch him.
Speaking
It's
of
terrible.
not being able to touch people, Hatim's there far too deep up against this Kutos' tequila. Kutos tequila on the Echo. I think I've had too much tequila. Meanwhile, Dragon is being started up by the Rams. This is going to be, sorry, by the Saints. No, it is by the Rams. The Saints are trying to contest this one. Dragon going low and low. It's down to 2,000 health. Death Realm already used by the Mordekais. The damage is coming through. And it is going to be the steal coming in from Nunu with the Consume, with the Smite there as well. Dryden is going to be completely caught out once out of the Death Realm. A kill going over in favour of the Cardiff Saints. One more time. They go 2 for nothing. They pick up a third Dragon. And now Mako is left running for the hills, desperately trying to get away from this monstrous Ornn. Yasuo is a little bit low, but here comes the Bellows Breath. This is going to be Ornn finally getting caught out. Ace the hole, not enough to take down the Yasuo. Blocked away, I believe, by the Leona. Here comes Tequila. He's looking for the parallel convergence. He's going to get himself the shield. He manages to hex tech forward. This is going to be Leona completely caught out, taking shot after shot from the Caitlyn. Bubble is going to land. Myrtle with a godly play. Mako is going to be able to get this kill. The question is this a chase too far? Ornn turning around, has got the support of Nunu. This turret is not here, so with an ebb and flow, this is going to be Tequila still going on, trying to get one more hit, trying to get that passive proc onto the Ornn, but here comes the Yasuo. The last breath is going to be enough to get a decent bit of damage down onto the Echo, who's used the ultimate, trying to get away. This fight has been turned around, but here comes the Mordekaiser. He teleported, he joined the fight in the bot lane. Nobody's dying. The chase continues for hours.
And meanwhile, Syndra was able to get the tower in the top side as well. They're giving up so much for this, and I've really got to ask to the Bradford Rams, was that really the hill to die on? They spent so much effort trying to get a Mountain Dragon there, and they just end up wasting so many resources. They try and burn everything on the Nunu to keep him out of the pit, and yet they aren't willing to commit to burn down the dragon in the meantime, so Nunu gets a nice flash Q steal.
Core of the Forge God is being channeled, and Mordekaiser, who teleported down to join that long old fight, has now been caught out, and none of his teammates are here to help him with another knockup coming in. Savonix gets his second kill of the game. Meanwhile, we did see DeLorean being forced away from the Rift Herald he'd started up, and now Robster is there alongside Hatim's on the Syndra, and this is going to be a Rift Herald secured by the Saints.
You know what? I think this might be the last time we see Ornn this series. This is 2 weeks in a row now. We've seen an Ornn go 6-0, 7-0 in lane. It is absolutely disgusting how strong he is.
Scatter the Weak does catch onto the Echo. He has got the ultimate available. He's trying to dash away with the Solar Flare. He's got nowhere to go, and he's going to be able to use the ultimate just as the Unleashed power comes through. But with a Tidal Wave coming in for safety, that's going to be enough to keep Tequila alive. Let's go, Myrtle!
And it's just ults traded for ults there, but it does force Tequila out of the mid lane most likely. They're going to drop this Herald, as they got both the Herald and the Dragon, because Bradford Rams weren't willing to split the map and trade those objectives, and it does mean now that Bradford Rams, they're just continuously on the back foot, they're continuously having to react. And whenever they do make an aggressive play, they're just choosing the wrong side of the map.
The Saints get themselves another charge of the Herald down onto the mid lane in a turret, able to get a good bit of damage onto their next objective. The next dragon that spawns will be a Mountain Dragon Soul if the Cardiff Saints are able to secure it.
And it just means that the burst damage out of the Echo is almost never relevant, because everybody can buy just the tiniest piece of magic resistance, and the extra 20-30% bonus you're getting on your magic resistance stats is gonna just cut Echo's damage near in half.
The Luden's Echo has now been upgraded for Syndra, so all that extra damage is going to come through. Ornn himself with the 2 upgrade items, the Sunfire and the Abyssal as well. This is where all that extra gold comes through on the Saints. Not only have they got a 3,000 gold lead, they've probably got 3k worth of gold just from those item upgrades.
So what I want to talk about here is just look at the Syndra's build. She's just built the Seeker's Arm Guard, which is the correct decision because she's already just been given the Ornn upgrade. Gonna go for the Gonna go for that Zhonya's Hourglass, try and give her a bit more teamfight survivability with the active. But not only that, it means she's pretty much never gonna take damage from Caitlyn for the rest of the game, thanks to Mountain Dragons. It's great.
Yeah, as soon as the Mountain Dragon Soul comes in, which we assume that it's going to for the Cardiff Saints, getting essentially a Malphite passive, that's a pretty nice way to stop some of these slightly squishier targets being taken down quickly. Meanwhile, Echo gets caught out by the knockup, uses his ultimate to cryo-break himself back. Tequila trying to dash away, trying to get to safety, being charged down by a Yasuo, by an Ornn. Has he got anywhere to go? The Mountain Dragon actually helping out slightly, but the Zenith Blade comes in blind across the wall. That's going to be Tequila with the Ignite on top. Savonix is going to pick up yet another kill. Now Dryden is the one caught caught out. Despite his use of the Death Realm, is going to die to Ropster 7-4-1.
And it's just so easy for them right now with the dragon spawning in just a couple moments' time. They have this infinite control.
I just watched a Caitlyn shoot an Ornn 4 times, one of which with a headshot, and do
Just wait.
negative damage.
Just wait until he gets the Bramble Vest. Caitlyn's going to be doing more damage to herself than to Ornn.
Oh, dear.
There it is. There's the Bramble Vest. He's just built it as well. He acknowledges that Caitlyn cannot do anything to him. So the only option right now, by the looks of it, is to try and burn Baron in response. And they've not got vision here.
This is exactly what the Bradford Rams are going for. Cardiff Saints will start the Dragon, however, they might be about to lose the Baron on the back of it. This is a really, really clever play. Innovative coming in from the Bradford Rams.
And it will give them full control of the map for a few minutes' time. But, oh, they are spotted out right there. Ornn is going to try and get in here.
Ornn is looking to cause all sorts of chaos. The Dragon already almost burned down, I believe. Sorry, not actually started up in the end. Now look at the Ornn just flashing himself straight into the middle of trouble, picking up a kill onto the opposition jungler. Meanwhile, we do see that the yes, the Dragon was secured in the end by the Cardiff Saints. Nunu getting that one. And now with the jungler dead on the Bradford Rams, it's the Cardiff Saints who have got themselves control of the Baron Pit.
And the Swiss Army man himself, Ornn, showing that he can be an assassin as well as a tank, and finishes off the jungler. Really good play there, denying that that Baron away, as they thought, where have they been? Where are they right now? Because their only option on the map, they acknowledged it as well.
Oh, this is disgusting. Call of the Forge God is going to come in, helping out Nunu, who was already pretty much single-handedly zoning away Tequila, and now Dryden trying to do what he can, trying to split push, but Savonix, he's just happy in the side lane. He's got himself a Phantom Dancer, and frankly, it's the Rams who need the lifeline.
And so now, I actually like that one. It's subtle, unlike most of your puns.
That's going to be Chrono Shift coming in. Tequila trying to stay alive. Solar Flare is going to get a decent bit of the stun down, but DeLorean chasing forward, trying to pick up a kill, trying to remove Baron buff, but it's just not happening. Finally, an Ebb and Flow is going to take down the Nunu, but it is going to be a kill and a turret going over to the Cardiff Saints, who are just continuing their charge across the rift.
And of course, the Yasuo being on the bot side, it means they get a tower there as well. They've got full control over this map. And it's just becoming so difficult for the Bradford Rams to really do anything. They're falling further and further behind, and this game just seems well and truly done.
It certainly isn't looking good for the Bradford Rams right now. It's a 6,000 gold lead. We have, in our first couple of weeks of the Long Arena Clash, seen bigger comebacks as we see the ace in the hole blocked by the Wind Wall, and Tequila trying to outmaneuver this Yasuo, managing to get a good bit of damage down, dashing straight back in. Here comes the Caitlyn, forcing the flash out of the Yasuo. Savonix, have you got anywhere to run to? Ignite, burning him down. He's got one last tick of health left, and now it's gone. Caitlyn with a second kill of the game, finally coming in, but that's at the 24-minute mark, and it feels too little too late.
That's all she can really do, is just clean up a fight where her most fed member on her team is the one doing 90% of the damage. And that is the thing, when you fall behind on Caitlyn, you've got nowhere to go.
Oh, Myrtle, where
Nowhere to go.
are you going? The bubble is going to land, but there's the Chilling Smite, and Myrtle is left moaning in the Baron Pit. We might well see the Baron started up in just a moment. Nice stuns coming out. Robster not
Actually
quite
gets
able
out,
to catch
okay.
onto the Nami. Fair play. This Nami has had a pretty excellent game, running at 2-1-4. One of the best score lines on the Bradford Rams team.
Yeah, the Nami not really been the problem this game. She was able to get a decent amount of pressure bot lane, but the Caitlyn, it just seems like too much of a risk at this point.
Baron Dance has once again begun. Cardiff Saints stripping this one of about a third of its health already. Bradford Rams looking to go in. Call to the Forge God immediately starts the fight back up in favour of the Saints, though. Samwise taking down the Echo. Solar Flare thrown down just for zoning potential. Dryden stuck in the middle. He's trying to take down the Nunu using the Death Realm, but he gets caught by a Scatter of the Weak as soon as he comes out of it. Zenith Blade is going to connect max range onto the Caitlyn, who heals, trying to get away to safety. Still has the flash available. May well have to use it. The Caliber Net is there. Flash over the wall in response, but straight into the waiting arms of Hatims, who gets the double kill. And just like that, an ace for the Cardiff Saints.
And Cardiff just have absolute domination of all stages of this game, honestly. The only issue they had was that mid lane during the early phases where they lost a couple of deaths. Since then, it's just been endless control in the top side. Bot side was never under threat. And so Bradford Rams have just not been able to get back into this. Once it started to crumble, you know, it just all fell to pieces.
It has been a rough ride for the Rams for the last 10 minutes or so. Echo is able to zone Syndra away from that mid lane turret, but actually no, not even before it falls. The inhibitor still stands, the turret does not. Baron secured by all 5 members of the Cardiff Saints. They've got a 7-1 turret lead, and they're looking to make it more.
And you know, there with his little forge hammer, he's nailing in that final nail in the coffin by getting the Infinity Edge onto Savonix. That is, that's pretty much it. There's almost no way that you can get back into this now, because even though we've seen him losing 1v1s to the Echo, we've seen Echo actually have more of a threat onto him. It almost went even last time for the first time.
You add a Molten Edge to that, not
You
so
add
much.
a Molten Edge, yeah, the gold upgrade efficiency of something around... like something around 2,000 for that, because
wow.
because he's got the 100% crit from his passive on top of it. It increases the efficiency of it. It's normally about 1,400.
Yep.
But it just makes it so much more efficient. It makes the Yasuo just win out this matchup hard.
And if in case you didn't think things were going badly for the Rams, who are about to find their inhibitor under fire for
Going
four-man
Bradley
squad
for the Rams.
of the Saints, we do have an Elder Dragon that's going to be spawning in just a couple of minutes' time, if the game even goes on that long. Parallel Convergence thrown down behind the Syndra. Echo looking to try and get some kind of execute onto Hatims. Gets really good damage down, but there is the Zhonya's defensively from Hatims. Inhibitor going lower and lower. That's going to be a shutdown. Xin Zhao dashing into the middle of danger, is able to pick up the one kill. This is a fight that might finally go in the Rams' favour. However, Yasuo with 2 kills changes all of that. Meanwhile, Nunu has just casually been zoning away the Caitlyn, able to do whatever he wants. Knock up onto 2. That's going to be Myrtle yet again, trying to stay alive, using the heal from Mako, able to stay alive for just a moment.
Oh
but
no, the Ornn
finally,
dies!
The
No!
kill comes in, the first death of the game for this top lane. Ornn, who has been an absolute monster at 10, 1, and 11, does come right at the end of the game. We talked about the potential spawning Elder Dragon, but I'm not even entirely sure that will happen. Will the Cardiff Saints look to continue this push? No, they decide discretion is the better part of valor as they take their enhanced recalls out of there.
Yeah, 10 seconds until the jungler spawns, who can of course run them down pretty efficiently. Just going to cause them to back away. Their Elder Dragon being on the map means that they need to go for that one, but they lose a lot of the Baron buffs there. And I have to explain this to you guys here. The 9k up roughly here, yeah? But with the Ornn item efficiency, Ornn giving himself about 3,000 gold on him, 2,000 gold on the mid laner, about 1,100, 1,200 gold on the bot laner there as well.
So about a 1,500 lead.
It's about a 15,000 lead.
Yeah.
Imagine a 15,000 gold lead when you've seen in competitive play. Nobody can even touch anyone on the map without getting bursted to all hell. And yet they took a fight that was 5 for 3. That should not be the case. They misplayed that fight heavily, and they've got to clean this one up to end it.
The problem is there are so many important cooldowns now missing for the Bradford Rams as this Elder Dragon goes lower and lower. Call of the Forge God isn't going to get too much, however, it just buys a lot of time for the zoning potential for the Cardiff Saints. Here come the Rams, they're looking for potential steal, but Lauren is completely caught out. That's going to be the Elder Dragon, that's going to be all the execute damage coming in. Mord is the first one to get executed as we see Ornn trying to duel it out with all 4 remaining members of the Bradford Rams. He charges headfirst and does not care at all.
And with the Elder Dragon here, with already one member falling, this should be all said and done. The collapse is coming.
That's going to be Flash ult coming in from Savonix, who is now completely unstoppable. Had the slower start of all the carries in this game, however, now is running that 8, 4, and 5 scoreline. It's going to be Myrtle getting run down once again by Nunu, trying to get to safety. Tequila gets slammed one more time by Hatims. Lauren trying to do what he can just to delay what seems to be the inevitable. One more Zenith Blade and one more bit of damage coming in from Savonix should do all that's needed. That's going to be the ace coming in. The game will go to the Cardiff Saints. They're going to be 1-0 up in this best of 3 series. The top of the table of Group 2 is here for the taking here in Week 3 of the Long Arena Clash. And right now, the Saints are the ones who want to take it.
Oh, we're trying to wait this one out. Does he do enough? Not quite there for Dryden. And even that play goes astray, as now only Mako left alive as he just respawned. Maybe they can finish him off in the fountain.
Oh, Nunu, he goes too far, but they still manage to take down the Caitlyn. Myrtle will die as well. Flashes, style points for the Saints. The game is done at 30 minutes. 1-0 to the Cardiff Saints.
And you know, the question I got to ask is, Bradford Rams, why do you have to give Yasuo that head start? We know that Yasuo spikes harder with the more deaths he has. He's like a Dragon Ball Z character. So when you give him 3 deaths at the start of the game, you're just enabling him to scale even harder. He ended that game with 11 kills.
You have to ask them one other question as well. Why have you let Ornn through?
I mean, I'm
not watching the broadcast last
surprised
week?
at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just being permanently let down. It's like I had no expectations but this is even lower than what I expected.
Oh,
When you're letting Ornn through every single
Yeah,
game, and not even letting Ornn through, and he's just like, oh yeah, Ornn does decently, and then just becomes a champion in the late game. You look at him like just buffing up an AD carry, and they carry the game, where it's like, oh, Ornn's kind of innocuous. We don't really believe that. This is Ornn going 10-1. This is Ornn. Last week we saw him go 6-1-7 at the end of the game. This is a full tank champion that's getting 80 carry scorelines, and people aren't realizing that you shouldn't let him through.
so we're going to be going into game 2 just as quickly as we can. As soon as Champ Select starts, we will be there. Game 1, however,
So,
not so good. For
I actually want to
Rams.
divert from this a minute because
Ooh.
it's just the Ornn. It's just that was all it was. The Ornn did his job, won out the game, and then bot lane went even and denied the Caitlyn. That's the entire story of the game. Caitlyn didn't get ahead, Ornn did get ahead. That's all that needs to be said about that game for you to understand exactly how it played out. So, I did a Twitter poll earlier this week, last week maybe, and I asked, what is the best player in history? I asked every single role. I did a poll on every single
Right,
role.
okay.
And my top lane poll was Theshy, Smeb,
Don't do me like that.
and Khan.
Okay.
The Shy, Smeb, and Khan. And it was interesting because I personally think that it's a little bit early to call the Shy the best top laner of all time when you've got, in the history, you can look back at people like Flame. But the thing is, when you look back to the early seasons, there are none of the legendary top laners ever made a really strong Worlds run apart from Azubu Frost, who, of course, didn't have Flame. That was the team Shy was on.
Yeah.
And Shy wasn't as good as Flame. So even then, because Blaze didn't make it far enough, it's difficult to really say that he was the best of all time.
I see what you're saying.
So you kind of
But-
stuck
So
with going...
what was the result with the poll in the end?
The poll was 50% for the Shy, roughly.
Okay.
30% for Smeb, and 10% for Khan.
Okay.
And then there was 10% for other.
Okay.
Because I asked people if they
Yeah, and
did
then
have
they
another
could put a
option.
comment.
And then George GNC said Impact, which was one of the most int responses I got.
Yeah. I think he's a world champion, but
Yeah, it's just Impact's never been... Only at one point in Impact's career was he the best top laner in the world, and even then we only saw it in the microcosm of NA. His form fell off before he hit the World Championship, so we never got to see the top die Impact at Worlds.
so I mean, I'm now looking at kind of your response. If you hadn't been the one making the poll, what would your vote have gone
I
towards?
mean, it's difficult not to say because if I'm talking in different metrics, because you got multiple different metrics. There's who has been the highest above anyone else in the world at a given time.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, I would say Khan. When he was
100%,
on
yeah.
when he was on Longzhu, his Jace. That was the era where Khan was just head and shoulders above everybody else. Second would be the Shy, and third would be Smeb in that scenario. But if we're looking at consistency, always looking like an amazing player, consistently being in the top players in the world, mechanical skill, everything coming together all around, I have to say the Shy, unfortunately, because even with such a short career, you look at Smeb, he's fallen off hard. And Smeb had a terrible start to his career. Khan had a terrible start to his career as well. Both of them played in bottom-tier teams in the LCK.
I think it's interesting. I mean, there's so many different metrics, aren't there? I mean, like you say, there's individual outplay potential, actual
Yeah.
skill level. Then there's also, you've got to factor in accomplishments to an extent, because
And even then,
you've
like
got
going to
world
world
champion.
semis and winning worlds, as opposed to MSI finals, world semis, MSI semis. Like Khan's consistently been up there as well, but Khan's had those drops in form as well, you have to say.
yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I honestly I can't remember if I voted on that one, but if I had, I definitely would have gone for old Theshy. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
but that's
though,
a little bit of
because
personal
thinking
bias
about,
as well.
You're thinking about who the best top laners are of all time. Even if you start to take really just longevity into account, you can't put Soaz at the top.
Oh no.
Because Soaz is so far from everybody else in that regard in terms of his mechanical ability. Soaz has never been the top 3 top laners in the world, not even top 5, I think you have to say. Maybe if you look back at Season 1.
I was going to say maybe Season 1, 2, yeah.
But Season 1, he literally made Worlds finals. He wasn't on the Worlds winning roster, the famous Fnatic roster, but he was on Against All Authority, who they were up against, that had Yellowstar on it as well, as their top laner.
So
He actually laned against Xpeke, funnily enough, because Xpeke was the top laner.
So mid lane, I'm guessing, was a no contest.
Oh
Just
yeah,
Faker blew everyone up the wall.
99% vote for Faker.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but you're kind of hinting if you're not saying Faker on that one.
Yeah, I can't remember who I had as my other two. I think. I'm
So,
sorry, you guys can't hear that, but I heard the word Bjergsen in my ear.
And that wasn't me saying it
And-
without moving my lips. That was.
It makes me want to physically retch when I hear him in the conversation for best mid laner ever. But like Faker's a no contest. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I actually put
if
Expeke on
if
there.
you take
I
him-
actually put Expeke on
Yeah. If you take him out of the equation,
Then
would you
you've
go?
got Expeke as one of them, as I said. Some people would try to ask Alex Each or Froggen. You really have to go back to the OGs, the pre-Faker
I'm a
era.
massive fan of that era, and
Yeah.
especially Froggen, but I wouldn't try.
You gotta, yeah, but some people would, of course. I think Expeke is probably one of the best answers there, but I would actually hazard a position at Pawn in that regard.
Okay.
Because Pawn, you think about him, world champion, MSI champion, 2 different teams. He was consistently the Faker Kryptonite, if you remember that old storyline. And he had a very long career from season 3, I believe he started, and he was playing up until last year, where he was consistently great. So if you're talking about the second best mid laner of all time, I think he's a very strong argument for it.
My thought towards it, I mean, I'm sort of thinking on the fly a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think towards one particular player, but going back to my previous thought in terms of metrics and achieving things, this person hasn't really done that yet and would need to be in that conversation. Incredible individual capability on champions, though. Knight is just an amazing player.
That's the thing. I actually was discussing this with a friend, and I said, who is not on any of these polls in 2-3 years' time will be and might top it? Knight was one of the ones we discussed. Because if Knight does show up and makes worlds, wins twice, looks amazing, and is as dominant as he has been in the LCK in the mid lane, that might be enough for people to say. But there will never be anybody who's as above the competition as Faker was.
Yeah, and so consistently performed, and
I wouldn't go for that. His season 4 was bad. His season 7 was not great, and his season 8 was terrible as well. So season 9 he was definitely decent. I'd give him that. But he's had an on and off form. Season 3 and season 5 he was incredible though.
Alrighty, well, we'll come back to that one later because I'm interested to hear about jungles, ADCs, and supports. But right now, I'm more interested in which ones the Rams and the Saints are going to be picking up themselves. More importantly, what's going to get banned away. The Rams now have first pick as we have swapped sides of the Rift. You'd have to assume the Saints are taking away the Ornn.
Yeah, you'd have to assume as much being on the blue side that they've got the option to do that. I believe they have actually subbed in top lane.
Yep, Mr. Mephistophelian is going to be coming in for the Bradford Rams. Cardiff Saints, they look unchanged to me.
How do you feel about that username, guys? I'm going to call out the producers as well. Samwise Ganja.
I mean, I think Samwise is great.
Samwise is a great player. Let's just leave it at that.
Sets banned away by the Cardiff Saints. Rise the final ban from the Rams. Are we going to see the one change coming into the ban phase as the Saints potentially take away the Ornn, or are we going to stick to what we saw last time?
No. Away Ornn.
There goes the
There
Ornn.
we go.
Mephistophelian not going to get to come in and play that one.
Aphelios is available, and he is the second most broken champion in the game right now. We talk about Ornn items and how much gold he gets for free. Well, look at Aphelios, who, for hitting level 18, gets 40 AD, 40 attack speed, and 15% armor pen, all just completely for free.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, new top laner, same champion picked up first by the Bradford Rams. They clearly value this Mordekaiser very highly.
I would hope that they have some flexibility on this, though, because otherwise I would be worried about it, because we didn't see Delarin really play that effectively in the mid to late game. Unfortunately, his team did fall so far behind, so it was difficult for him to do much. But the Mordekaiser would take away that early pressure that he had if he was to play it in the jungle. You got to look at the mid lane then and think, how are you going to get a good matchup into Victor? The answer is hell no. So it means they're already in a rough situation.
Bradford Rams now need to make the most of these next couple of
That makes me
picks.
think the Nami was a pick away, and that Fisky plays a lot of the Nami.
I completely was, I was going to agree with you because I was thinking the same thing, and with this Soraka locked in, which of course had nerfs to particularly hurt its ability to play in top lane. Still a viable support, though it's slightly dropped in tier preference.
The only issue with Soraka right now for me is that she can't play with Senna because her wave clear is awful. Now they've cut her damage to minions with her Q by 40%, so you can't go Soraka Senna bot lane with Senna going the support item, Soraka picking up all the CS. Otherwise, that would be disgusting. Just think about the healing that bot lane would have. Like, Soraka heals up Senna, Senna heals up Soraka right back. They can't be engaged on because of the silence field on top of the E. It just makes it really difficult to play into, but luckily those nerfs did come through.
Rek'Sai now locked in by the Cardiff Saints. We've got a little bit of flexibility coming out of the Mordekaiser. We don't know what lane, or if indeed if it's going to be the jungle that one's going to be for the Rams. However, now the Saints, they're going to start targeting out potential champions that DeLorean could take, much like they did in the last game.
So the Sejuani being banned away, yeah, that's a interesting choice there, but I think that the Cardiff Saints don't really need to be so worried about that one. The Mordekaiser pair's okay with it, but he doesn't really rush his attack speed that he needs best to pair with a Sejuani. They haven't really got a Triforce user yet, so unless you're looking at them last two lock-ins going Sejuani Aurelia, don't have to fear it all that much.
Xin Zhao also taken off. DeLorean played it in the last game, had, as you said, a reasonably decent early game. Didn't get to see so much, but that was as the whole team was falling off too. Savonix is going to have his Yasuo banned away as well.
I don't really think you needed to ban that away. He showed up in the later game, but the only reason he showed up in the late game, it was one, he had an Ornn, and two, the whole upgrade came through.
Interesting ban as well, with the Victor already having been picked up. So it says to me that the Rams, they got bamboozled once with the Syndra going down to the bot lane. They weren't going to risk that one coming through again.
But the Ashe already locked in. It's not going to be... they're not going to be too afraid of a Nami plus a Syndra, I wouldn't think, but they are still, interestingly enough, we don't see this often, holding AD carry as the counter pick. That I'm seeing almost no team do this in the current meta, so it shows they've got a lot of faith in Hattie.
Victor's not one of those champions that you see going down into sort of an APK role very often. It can happen, but it's not as often seen as,
you need
let's say,
to go
the Syndra.
Futures Market and teleport. So we can see he's got the teleport at the current minute because he's not decided, so he hasn't changed.
Just from the last game.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see if they can fall back on that. Cassio being picked into the Victor would actually be a really interesting choice. If they put the Victor into ADC and put an Orianna mid lane, they just win so hard. Instead, they're going to go the Ezreal, Nami into Ashe, Soraka. Ashe actually wins this lane matchup, but Ezreal's 2-item spike is far higher than Ashe's. So we need to look, once he's completed his Muramana, that's stacking up and he's got the Triforce completed. Those team fights are going to be really, really hard to stop for the Bradford Rams, but at the same time, Ashe provides so much more during the early, provides so much more in those team fights in general with the ult setup, that the Ezreal could just get outpaced. And interestingly, actually, we could see this change up, that Ezreal mid into the Cassiopeia, which I would both hate and love. He has no wave clear, means he's going to get shoved in by Cassio, but the Victor bot lane is definitely what I wanted to see. This changes up my estimation entirely. Victor will shove out the Ashe, he'll have control of bot lane, and he has so much better setup for those objectives where he has so much more shove.
5 seconds left to see a potential swap coming in, and so far that Yasuo ban doesn't look so silly anymore from the Bradford Rams. Reading the Saints like a book, the Victor is going to go down into the bot lane. That one's going to be for Hatims, who played such an excellent game in the last game on Syndra.
I got to say, they did bait me with the Ezreal. I wasn't expecting Ezreal to go mid. I've seen it a couple times, but I think it's not brilliant into Cassiopeia. I think it's okay. You can outplay, but the Cassio should have wave shove. She has catch potential as well with the Nunu if she can land a good grounding into, like a good miasma into the Nunu knockup. It will just be a dead Ezreal, so he has to play a little bit back in the lane. He has to let Cassiopeia shove, and then they have control over the river. It's difficult to play into. Victor and Jax might lose out because of it.
A few familiar champions here, the Nami and the Nunu. They've swapped sides, swapped teams on the Rift. Mordekaiser's still there for the Bradford Rams top laner, who himself is different this time round. What are your feelings looking at this next draft? Because things look very, very different to last time round.
Different indeed, but I'm looking at 2 winning lanes and an outscaling lane-ish in the mid lane, so I think this one could go very well for the Cardiff Saints. It's a lot of pressure onto Nunu, onto Cassiopeia, because I think other than them, for Mordekaiser and Ashe, and especially the Soraka, it's out of their control how this one's going to go. They need the mid-jungle to push them into the mid game so they arrive in a solid point. Otherwise, we know that Victor and Jax can just hard outscale. Interesting
hearing you talk about that, about the Cassiopeia, because I always think of Cassio, especially when it comes to the late game. You've seen Twin Fangs coming down over and over and over again, so much damage. Exactly what can we potentially expect to see out of this Cassiopeia earlier on?
Well, earlier on, she's looking to shove the wave with her QE, Miasma. She's going to run Corrupting Potion. She's probably going to use all the charges to shove Ezreal out, get a good ward, and get a cheat back off. So he's got the teleport advantage. They have to utilize the fact that Cassiopeia does shove early to try and get his TP out. Then you can maybe use the Ignite for kill pressure.
Okay, well, we'll see if that's what the Rams go for in that early back situation. Is it the early tier that the Cassio would go for?
850 gold is difficult to get because they've, of course, increased the price of tier to nerf Rise a few patches ago, quite a few patches ago.
Yes.
It means it's very difficult to get on the first pack. You don't need boots because you're Cassio. So one of the options that we do see, and we've seen this a lot from Rise, is actually the Mana Crystal plus a refillable. If you are going for a really early cheat back, just get that 400 and 500 gold you need and get back to base as quickly as possible on the cannon wave. But Ezreal might have something to say about that, especially if he goes lethal tempo. Landing 1Q actually allows him to shove out reasonably evenly into the Cassio.
We'll keep our eyes on that one as the game goes on. Yet again, it is going to be the same summoner spells for the bot lane. The Ashe and Soraka taking the heal and the exhaust, much as we saw last time around. This time, however, the Nami that's, as we said, swapped teams is going to be running an Ignite this time round. Still a teleport there for the Victor.
But what did we say about TP in the bot lane? It equates to about 12 CS lead for free, and it means that what you should be running if you are Victor, you could run, one option actually, is he could be running the Summoner Spellbook. Spellbook would give him a lot of survivability from ganks in that bot lane. It would give him a lot more control. And of course, when he wants to use the TP, that would be great. But what not only it does on top of that, it gives you access to Futures Market. And if you don't really understand why Futures Market is insane on Victor, let me explain. He needs that first Hex Core upgrade to be relevant as a champion. And if you...
Was it what, 1,000 gold? 1,050?
1,150.
Okay.
It was actually increased quite a while ago. The 850 is the cost of the final upgrade, though.
Okay.
So you really need that Futures Market extra gold to really make it worthwhile.
Well, we are on to the Rift, and once again we see the 5 men strong from the Cardiff Saints running together, heading down the Rift.
I love that they added that animation back into the game, the Rek'Sai old ult animation of her being on the jet ski. That used to be just the ult animation, but when they changed the
Home Guard.
Yeah, they changed it to the Home Guard animation. I'm so glad to see it back, but the noise, a little bit obnoxious.
For the second game in a row, the Cardiff Saints are going to get spotted out on this vision,
They
but
only
not by
have
the
one play.
Tri-Board.
I actually think that Bradford have seen them play and just scouted this out and went, yeah, they're just always going to enter through Tri-Brush. Let's just put a ward there.
That certainly seems to be exactly what's happening. So the 5 strong look like they're not going to get a lot of anything. Instead, Mordekaiser will head down into the opposite side.
You know what, though?
Get a bit of vision around the red buff.
They could have actually played this one out really effectively, as Hattie does the exact same thing as last game. Exact same thing. And goes to trek the Raptor Brush by himself, but this time takes a trade for it.
Yep, takes a volley to the face.
I actually disagree with the phase rush here from Victor. Like I said, I think that if you're looking for phase rush to survive lane, you can just switch to Ghost with your spellbook and then survive lane. You can even switch to Cleanse to deal with the Ashe. It makes it so much more, makes you so much more survivable in lane. But now Samwise may be caught out.
Yeah, Jax has to be very careful. Already happened to level the counter-strike, already getting locked down, running towards the safety of his turret, but found out by the 3 men who are looking to take away the red buff. This is going to be a heavily delayed start for the Nunu, however.
Nunu, of course, has to back away, but he does start on the enemy red buff, so he is going to perhaps get the advantage from that.
Question is, will we see any kind of counter jungling? Remember, there was vision there for the Bradford Rams, the Cardiff Saints, when the Saints last entered the Rams jungle, and it looks like that the Rek'Sai is looking to try and collapse onto this Nunu.
I think he's already baited the buff into the brush, so... Oh!
It's a smite fight and it's won by Robster. It's going to be a flash over the wall from Delorean. Flash follow. Unburrowed knockup is there, and that's going to be first blood coming in from the Saints jungler.
Over-aggressive from Dalaran. He didn't have the ability to take that on his own. He actually needed a leash, and it showed right there. As by the time he was trying to finish his first camp, Rek'Sai had already finished the camp on bot lane and walked all the way up to that red buff to contest it.
Incredible to watch, and as a result, it's going to be essentially a 3 buff coming in now as Rek'Sai takes away the blue buff of the Bradford Rams. A wonderful start for Robster.
So you know what the Nunu reminds me of here? The Nunu reminds me of who actually was my vote for the best jungler of all time. And if that does that give you a clue at all?
I wasn't immediately thinking, let's... Nunu... No, nothing's immediately springing to mind.
Bengi.
Okay.
Bengi
should have definitely sprung to mind, but didn't.
3 World Championships, the ultimate team player and Faker's duo partner for all time. It's an amazing player, and I put him
What
as
was the
my
term?
vote.
Right hand of God?
Yeah, I believe that was the phrase. I put Jankos as the second vote, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
Jankos was up there, and I'm trying to remember who the third jungler was.
Jankos is my favourite jungler of all time, though I wouldn't have called him the best jungler of all time.
He definitely has to be considered. He's been to World Semis on 2 different occasions. He's won MSI
Been to the final once.
and been to the World's Finals.
Yep.
So, like, I think he has to be considered right now, the same way Pawn did.
That makes a lot of sense. So in the end, you went with Bengi there?
Oh, of course, like 3 World Championships.
kinda
As I
hard
said,
not to.
the ultimate team player. He would play whatever his team needed. And I'm actually reminded of the story of how it was Piglet tried out for SKT, where they just put him in the Baron pit against Bengi's Nunu, and just said land an Ezreal Q on him, and he just he just spammed Blood Boil on himself, dodged every single one, and it was actually a test of resilience because they knew it was near impossible to land an Ezreal Q on a full movement speed Nunu. So. It was just a test of how long he'd keep going for until he landed one, and that was actually what allowed him to get picked up.
Nunu here playing a dangerous old game. DeLorean invading into Rek'Sai's jungle, completing the recall now, isn't going to get spotted out. So close to definite death for DeLorean, who didn't even have the flash available.
Yeah, has to go aggressive now to try and get himself back into the game, and really interesting choice to go for those wolves, but is only down 7 CS, now looking for a gank mid.
That's going to be knock up on to the Cassiopeia, who has not hit level 6, trying to dash away, is
Nice
going to be able
phase
to get
rush,
away on the back of that phase rush, but yet again, another nice gank coming out of Robster, who's looking good on the Rek'Sai.
Credit to Savonix, who's been able to stay even on CS in the mid lane, still controlling this decently.
Meanwhile, in the bot lane, that's pretty level on CS. Both of these champions, the Ashe and the Victor, scaling themselves up quite nicely. Already seeing that. That's not the first upgrade for Victor, is it? No.
That's the standard. That is the standard one he starts with. He has not been back to base yet. You can tell because he still has teleport.
Flash from Cassiopeia to get to safety. Flash follow coming in from the Victor, who throws down the gravity
Nice
field.
phase
Ebb and
rush.
flow. Decent damage coming in as the bubble is going to connect onto the Nunu, and it is going to be a second death of the game for DeLorean. Bradford Rams are losing their jungler once more. The Cardiff Saints picking up a kill onto Hatiums.
And you may think that was a little bit over-aggressive from Hatiums, but he does get the gold he needs for that perfect back. Should be able to pick up a lot of an upgrade here. That is the first Hexcore upgrade, likely upgrading his E for extra wave shove. He can now keep up with the Ashe permanently, as he's just going to utilize his E to try and shove this one back in. Has got a refillable as well, so he's going to have absolute control.
We're having to burn through one stack of the refillable already as Mountain Dragon is picked up by the Cardiff Saints, just purely because he teleported straight onto the wave and took all that damage coming in from the volley and also from Myrtle on the Soraka.
And of course, because Tequila wasn't able to get a cheat back on the cannon, it means that he doesn't pick up the tier on a better base timing than the Ezreal. Ezreal doesn't even have to blow his TP, and they go even on it. And it's actually up on CS because of the really nice gank from Robster.
Dizzy there taking quite a lot of damage on the Nami, but able to survive. Obviously has a huge amount of sustain coming out of the other flow, but it does cost quite a lot of mana. I remember the old days when I wasn't quite so hard at League and I was playing a lot of support. I burned through a lot of mana pools on Nami, thinking it was okay.
I'm actually looking at this, looking at the top lane right now, and this Tiamat early from the Jax is really strong, but ooh.
That is a crucial
good
bubble that lands. However, Hatim still caught out, doesn't have the flash on the back of picking up the kill. However, trying to get away, using that phase rush to try and stay safe. Hatim now has company in the form of Robster, who's looking for the counter gank. Does not yet have the Void Assault available, so not able to chase any of these slightly lower health targets down. DeLorean makes his way safely out.
And not even a summoner having to be used in response. Really cautious and really well-timed play there from Hatiums. Not just blowing his mana pool, as we've seen so many people do, just plays it out slowly and is able to get out alive.
Both our mid laners now stacking up those tiers. Savonix able to get slightly ahead in CS up against the Rams mid laner on the back of Tequila, having to be forced out of the lane on the back of a really, really nice gank. Robster is pretty much the dominant force on the Rift so far.
So coming up to this top lane, again, you can see what the Tiamat's allowing him to do. He just has full control of the wave, full control of skirmishes, and Samwise is just dominating this top lane matchup.
Mephistophelian forced a flash there, did have the Death Realm available, but I'm not sure it would have done a lot of good if the Grandmaster's might that was being used by Samwise was actually going to be able to help pick up that kill. Clever flash from Mephistophelian, but a crucial summoner to be down.
Now it's Samwise just having full pressure on the top side. The Ezreal, ooh, giving up his life likely there.
Savonix getting too aggressive. Immediately the Miasma was thrown down, and now the flash forward from Robster, the mid laner, has survived for the Cardiff Saints.
Oh,
the Bradford
no.
Rams one will not be so lucky.
And it was the correct play by Tequila, but unfortunately doesn't have vision of the enemy jungler. The burn not quite enough, and Savonix, he gets out alive on that one, so it all is falling apart like we were saying. The top lane matchup winning out Ezreal, going for the cull and winning out his matchup, and bot lane now having full control as well. Cardiff Saints winning all 3 lanes and a jungle matchup. This is disgusting.
2,000 gold lead for the Cardiff Saints. They are, of course, 1-0 in this best of 3 series. They want to be standing alone at the top of the table after week 3 of the long arena clash.
But this is a really interesting setup now because Cardiff Saints are in full control of the game. It means that we're not really looking for a lot of skirmishes, a lot of fights. They want to scale, they want the time. And now they've got this advantage, they can play the game as slow as they want. So it means that unless we're seeing a wild solo kill from Samwise, it's basically just track Robster, and that is the entire game of where the aggression is going to be played, because Dalaran isn't really going to be able to find much onto these laners. Ezreal, so safe. The Jax with flash up, still so safe. And, of course, we've seen what happens when he ganks the Victor.
Robster with the knock-up once again onto Tequila, who, of course,
Easy
does
kill.
not have the flash there. This kill, yet again, going over to Robster, who is 3-0-1. Of course, the Warrior Enchant already completed for this mighty jungler, who is right now, just like I say, taking over the Rift.
Really nice utilization of the gank pathings available to Rek'Sai to find a couple of loops around, but still no warding in his own, in the enemy jungle, really, to deny him the ability to make those plays. He's just going to go into Rift Herald now.
Samwise takes a couple of turret shots, but that's not going to worry the Jax at all. No Dragon available, so it is going to mean that Herald started up. However, here comes the opposition.
Oh,
This
no,
the
they
Bradford
missed.
Rams Nunu looking for the pick, and it's going to be Hatims, who's completely locked down, tries to get away, but not going to be so lucky. That's going to be good damage coming out of the Maelstrom, however, not enough to take down Myrtle on the Soraka.
Patty having flash, but not utilizing it there does cost him quite dearly as he gets caught by the silence. He was looking to try and outplay the Nunu, and instead steps too far forward. The silence ruins it, and that's what Soraka can do. She's just a denial pick, essentially.
And that is going to be a first bit of kill participation for the bot lane. However, crucially, that kill, which is the first for the Bradford Rams, does go onto the Nunu, which is not the target they would have hoped for it to be on.
Now, of course, just we've got to utilize, see how that Rift Herald is utilized. Does it accelerate the game at all? Because Cardiff Saints can try and look to increase the speed of this game massively, but they are still scaling, so they don't want to go too far ahead to the point where they're forcing 5v5s and aren't ready for it yet.
We've got ourselves a 1v1 in the top lane, because despite Samwise hovering in the wings, that's going to be a Void Rush coming through. Shield is good. Mephistophelian trying to stay alive under turret. The heal
nice
is there.
Soraka.
That's going to be Soraka with the wish, keeping Mephistophelian alive, but the Dragon is going to get started up. Bradford Rams looking to equalize the Dragon squad, not even losing their top laner. Soraka, that's a champion.
Ezreal, just going wide onto the Mordekaiser there in the top lane as he did try and finish him off, but the Dragon going over is actually pretty big for the Bradford Rams. They're able to pick that one up, and it isn't the biggest of objective wins, but it does give them at least some stats to try and catch this one up.
Herald utilized in the top lane. 3 turret plates already down.
Oh
Cardiff
wait, they
Saints
based immediately after taking the Dragon, so they're losing tower plates in top and bot at the same time.
Oh, and that's painful. We only got still got 2.5 minutes left on these turret plates. It looks like a first turret could easily go down here in the top lane. With the counter-strike, we know that Samwise is in absolutely no danger whatsoever. The same cannot be said for Savonix, who is being forced back and back, further and further by Tequila on this Cassiopeia.
So not only do they lose the first turret on that reset, they're denied about 200 gold in minions to that bot lane towers. That's really actually punishing for going for that, and because of the late reset, they are just being denied completely.
Oh, Tequila overstays,
Oh,
and Savonix gets a first kill of this game with a little help from his bot lane friends.
And doesn't even get any of the CS. He uses his ult, walks in, but is able to at least get an assist out of it, get control of mid, and get a really good reset timing for the Ezreal, who's going to go back and get the Moramana, and going to start off his build towards the Triforce with that Sheen.
Yeah, Sheen coming in. The cull already almost completed for the Ezreal as well. Here comes the teleport. This is going to be Samwise joining the fight. Sorry, that's actually going to be Ezreal joining the fight. Raps are trying to chase down. Nunu is here for support, and all will come to naught for the Saints in the bot lane.
So Ezreal build is kind of like a Nidalee pathing in the way that both of them are very predictable in terms of what they do. There's always a set way to play them that's most efficient. That people work out literally the most efficient way to build or the most efficient way to path in Nidalee's respect and get full control of that. It means that you have to play into those item spikes effectively.
Atims burns flash there, being slightly caught out by the Bradford Rams bot lane. I believe that was on the back of an enchanted crystal arrow. Meanwhile, Mephistophelian using the Death Realm, but still getting absolutely boshed by Samwise. Here comes Fisky trying to flash forward, trying to get another pick. Has got the support of Robster, but this is a dangerous game. Tidal Wave is going to knock DeLorean up, get to Lil Hill from the Soraka, but the Ignite's still burning. With the bubble landing, Hatim's able to throw 1E straight through. Here comes Cassiopeia, Petrifying Gaze. He's going to pick up one onto Fisky, but here comes a mighty fed Rek'Sai. Tequila is going to go and just disappear essentially because Hatims goes, you know what, I want my third kill of the game.
There was actually a blind flash, trusting that Tequila had turned around, didn't have vision in that brush, so ends up flashing into melee range directly on top of him, and the control they get from that now of this bot side should have been massive had it not been Hattie.
Soraka using the Wish, trying to stay alive despite the pressure coming in from the Victor. Exhaust is going to get thrown down as well. Rek'Sai waiting in the wings, trying to get a pick under the turret. This is going to be Hatims trying to run, but not able to hide. Ash flashes forward, picks up the kill. Here comes Robster trying to avenge his dead ADC. Another heal coming in from Myrtle, who has to be careful. Robster does have the Void Rush available if he's able to get it down, but he is just being ripped through. His health bar is disappearing and now being sort of reappearing again. That is going to be the Void Rush on the back of an ebb and flow. Robster will eventually die to the absolute zero of the Nunu. The Cardiff Saints do manage to pick themselves up a kill. The Rams getting a shutdown.
Okay,
however.
I have one question for you there, Stan. Is it unfair if we give Mako play of the game for cancelling his autos 4 times, flashing in place, and then getting a kill with 1 auto attack?
Yes, it is.
Is that unfair? Can we not do that?
I think that's quite unfair. We've
really
already called him out on stream. I think everyone saw it happen. I mean, that feels bad.
Cancelled 4 auto attacks in a row.
Tequila there just getting absolutely ripped through by the flux damage coming out of Savonix. Ezreal now in a very, very strong place, hitting this power spike.
Yeah, Ezreal now having the ability to hard up. A really nice engage here. Is he going to finish off Tequila? As Tequila just doesn't back away, acknowledging that his health bar is low. The W is still on him, not even a flash having to be used there from Savonix. Easy kill. That
for me is why the Cardiff Saints are continuing to look like the strongest team here. It's just a lack of respect from the Rams for the Fed members of the Cardiff Saints, and especially for the roam coming out of Fisky, who yet again is instrumental in yet another kill.
So the Cardiff Saints, though, they just need to play this game out as they are. They don't need to do anything more aggressive. They can just afford to sit back and let this one go. But this is actually a really, really good ultimate there from Mephistophelian. It's just Ezreal can't do anything until he gets a QSS into that matchup, so he just finishes him off completely. Really nice gold pickup.
Savonix burning the flash, unable to get away. However, Robster was there to pick up a kill on the outside of that fight. Mephistophelian is going to die yet again. Here comes the Void Rush onto DeLorean, but look at the damage coming through from Tequila. Suddenly, Machine Gun Cassiopeia is on the rift, and the shutdown gold will come through as well.
Over-aggressive here from the Cardiff Saints, just as we're saying, they don't need to play aggressive. They can afford to play this one slowly. They've got the scaling comp. They make multiple mistakes in a row, and now they're set massively behind.
DeLorean has got to be very, very careful here. We do see that there are multiple people waiting for him at the Dragon. However, with the Jax forcing down the turret, DeLorean decides to go forward, has got the ultimate, the Chaos Storm dropping straight on his head, but he's able to get the absolute zero down. The damage is here from the Nunu. Eventually, Haddon is able to pick up the kill. The True Shot Barrage comes through and takes down Soraka, making a 2-for-1 for the Saints around the Dragon Pit. Meanwhile, look at the damage that Samwise has already done to that inhibitor turret.
That inhibitor turret getting shredded, as you say, because Samwise has all this pressure and it forces members to respond. They couldn't go for the Dragon there, they couldn't commit because they were outnumbered on that side of the map. As both Ash was in base and Mephistophelian was only just arriving to that top lane at the time. It just meant that Nunu going in was just so way too aggressive, gets finished off. And that is going to be Cardiff Saints picking up 2 more kills.
Rek'Sai arrives at the Ocean Dragon, immediately clears out the vision. Actually, doesn't immediately clear out the vision. Gets spotted out by Control Ward in the bush. This is going to be Ash looking for a potential pick. Teleport is now coming in. This is going to be Mephistophelian joining the fight, and it's going to be Robstar sent running. Mako, do you have the ultimate available? No, you do not. However, Knockup is going to connect. Volley is there, and with the Blade of Ruin King damage, Mako able to pick up this one. That's a nice thanks for the leash moment as the Bradford Rams pick up their second Dragon of the game. However, meanwhile, the Herald drops into Jax's pocket in the top lane.
And that was just him being abandoned. The rest of the map recalled, and he said, I can take the dragon on my own.
Not so
didn't
much.
respect the TP, didn't respect the collapse, and gets caught out from it as the collapse coming through yet again here.
Nami is actually really stuck, and suddenly the Cardiff Saints are giving away free kills. Teleport straight into the middle of 5. That's not where you want to be, Jax. Despite the Grandmaster's might, he's actually, because of the Grandmaster's might, he's able to get himself to safety despite running into 5 opposition members. Wow, Jax is such a great champ.
And they have to start getting scared because this Soraka does scale incredibly well. And if they don't respect this too much, they are going to start to fall behind.
You want to talk about a lack of respect? That's a lack of respect. The counter-strike is nowhere near enough to keep the Jax alive for the second time. The turret may not fall, but the Rams have just taken themselves a fair few shutdowns. Now they pick themselves up an inner turret as well. They've reduced the gold deficit to around about 4,000.
They've got the wrong member playing side lane here as it's the Victor trying to shove out the bot lane when they needed Victor to be the wave clear to deny that push. The way you play this comp is 1-3-1. You utilize your teleports in the side lane. Ezreal is one of the safest, so you leave him in a side lane where he can E away. He's got all the tools to keep somebody at arm's length. And you keep the wave clear mid. They weren't doing that. They get caught out by it. And now, again, Cardiff Saints, they make another mistake. This game should be really simple and really easy for them, but they're letting it slip.
On the plus side, the Cardiff Saints still have that Herald in Jax's pocket to utilize as and when he wants to. There's massive CS leads for the top laner, for the mid laner, and for the ADC role of the Cardiff Saints. They're looking very strong, but they've got to be careful they don't make any more slip-ups like they did in the last couple of minutes. Redemption comes in for the Soraka, so does the Wish. That's enough to keep her alive. Meanwhile, it is going to be Tequila finding out Robster in the jungle. But who has found who in that situation? Cassiopeia immediately turning and running away.
And that's, unfortunately, again, they're really committing to this Victor side lane, which is a relic of old, back when you could build Iceborne Gauntlet and just hard shove the side lane as him and play into any top lane in the world. But right now, when they don't have any wave clear mid lane, he can't continue to sit here.
Victor gets caught out, does get locked down very briefly, but he's able to stay fairly safe. Meanwhile, Herald is being summoned in the top lane. This is going to be an inhibitor turret taken down really easily. Charge will go onto the inhibitor as well. Counter-strike, leap straight onto the Cassiopeia. Pull back from the Mordekaiser, who issues the Death Realm, is able to get that kill onto the Jax. However, that was a really big charge out of the Herald onto the inhibitor. Onto the inhibitor. Does not take the inhibitor down, so there's at least a little bit of breathing room still in the top for the Rams.
One thing they have to be really careful of is the Ezreal needs a QSS put on him so that he can actually survive the Mordekaiser roll, because Mordekaiser's picked up a few kills in a row. He's getting his items together.
Knock up from the Nunu onto this Rek'Sai, and yet again Ash is there with the damage. 2 quick kills for the Bradford Rams, who are now ahead on kills, even if they're
really
still
gonna get a game
4,000
3
behind
here?
on gold.
This game should have been so done 10 minutes ago. In terms of, that was where the game should have never been out of the Cardiff Saints' control. Now, it's 2 dragons to the Bradford Rams. They're playing towards Baron, and they have the ability to burn it between a Mordekaiser, Ashe, and Cassiopeia.
True Shot Barrage goes past the Rams, and they do start up this Baron. Like you say, they have got a huge amount of shred, and right now the Saints do not have a jungler. They do have vision, courtesy of that Scryer's Bush just outside of the Baron pit. They're trying to do everything they can to stop this Baron from going down, but the 5 strong from the Rams look like they're going to get this one. They might lose their mid laner in the process, courtesy of the Chaos Storm, but that's going to be the secure. Bradford Rams able to consume the Baron off themselves. Mephistophelion trying to get to safety, staying alive. Soraka with the heals. Savonix trying to chase down anything he possibly can. Arcane shifting forwards, but he's playing a very dangerous game. Myrtle looking for the potential re-engage over the wall with the blast cone, and here comes the knock-up. That's going to be a nice bubble landing onto 2, but Mephistophelion takes down the Nami. Ezreal takes one onto the Mordekaiser as 1 Baron buff is lost. Here's the Void Rush, the damage coming through from the Rek'Sai. Is it enough with Victor there? Yes, it may very well be. You just got the Baron Ram, but you might be about to lose it. Cassiopeia got to safety, but no one else does.
And a near ace in response, and that is the only saving grace for the Cardiff Saints there, as they've been making mistake after mistake. They would deserve to be punished for it. They can't keep getting away with that. But they do at least find a solid team fight and get a tower for it on the bottom side.
There's only 1 Baron buff remaining, and if Tequila can't get out of this tricky situation, there won't be any. Just at the last second, they're able to take down the Jax, but not before Rek'Sai takes down an inhibitor in the top lane.
So very close to being taken down there.
True Shot Barrage going just wide.
And they lose not only the tower in the bot lane, they lose the tower mid and the inhibitor top in trade for all those Barons, but they've still got that 1 Baron on Cassiopeia. If they can try and utilize that to at least defend for the next few minutes, they can get back into a state where they can contest. this next dragon after this, because unfortunately it's already been taken.
That's going to be the Cardiff Saints getting their first Ocean Dragon of the game. They lost out on the Baron, but they ripped away 4 of the 5 Baron buffs. Definitely a nice situation for the Saints, who it felt like Savonix was over chasing, but then the support arrived and Victor's damage was through the roof.
Now, Savonix was playing correctly there. The Ezreal has so much safety that you can go that aggressive, and he has a Nami right behind him as well. So it means that he was actually pretty safe throughout that fight. He was never really at any big risk. And that means that the only real person at risk was Hattie.
And that's why we saw 4 Baron buffs being lost by the Rams, because they decided to try and take that fight against Savonix, and they're trying to do it again. The
nice
Enchanted
buffer
Crystal Arrow
VE.
is going to land, and no matter how much safety as you might think Savonix has, he's got nothing. When Soraka picks up a shutdown, that's the first kill of the game for Myrtle there. The Soraka support who's been doing so much healing, picking up a kill as well.
Hey.
There's still 1 Baron buff available for the Rams, so they push
Remember when I said Savonix needed a QSS?
It might have helped him a little bit there.
Yeah. This is a comp you need a QSS into. You will get picked off by the Mordekaiser because he still cannot win a 1v1 against Mordekaiser. He's that strong in the Death Realm. And of course, the Ashe ult as well is so crucial. The Cassiopeia ult needs to be QSS'd as well.
Savonix back alive in 13 seconds time, does have the teleport available. Bradford Rams, despite having this Baron empowered push, are being forced away from that turret in the mid lane, and that's going to be Tequila jumped on. A nice petrifying gaze is going to stop the Jax for a moment, but I'm not sure it's for long enough. Flash over the wall is great from the Cassiopeia. Tequila doing everything he can with a little bit of help from Myrtle with the heals.
And it ends up actually going
base.
in the favor of the Bradford Rams in that fight, but as you say, they are losing their entire base. Ezreal just going to stop the recalls, that's all they need to do.
Savonix, he picks up 1, he tags onto the Ezreal as well, trying to take the 1v1. Jax ripping through the hearts of the Bradford Rams. They try to defend for all they are worth. The Death Realm is enough to stop the Jax in his tracks and to bop him down. Samwise Genja will die to Mr. Valiant, but here comes Robster, yet again dashing onto Delorean, trying to take down this Nunu. This could be the last stand for the Bradford Rams. They try to get away from Hatims' Victor. They've got the safety of a turret, but look at the bottom side. They're about to lose one of their Nexus turrets.
And that minion wave is finally cleared out, but the Nexus Tower goes so low because of it. And, as all the mana has been burned from Cardiff Saints, why are they still pushing? They're still so aggressive.
They're so aggressive, but DeLorean keeps losing so much of his health that it means the inhibitor will, the inhibitor turret will fall. Can the Saints get themselves towards this inhibitor? It looks like it's just going to remain the one in top lane that's open.
And Cardiff Saints, in game 1, they were relatively clean. They didn't make that many mistakes, but this game has been so very messy. And this is the kind of game where you're watching. If you are one of our star-studded teams, you look at the Portsmouths, the London, even Stratford, and you think, this doesn't seem like it's going to be a difficult matchup for us, because even if they do get a lead, they're going to give us so many windows back into it that we play a scaling comp, we get to win out. And we know how good those teams can be with those scaling comps. We know that Portsmouth just got 3 wins into Stratford because they went for that heavy scaling comp.
Yeah,
and London isn't going to give you the early game.
10k behind, and that's it's now 5k gold lead. It's not quite the near 15,000 we saw for the Saints last time, but they're looking good still.
When we're seeing sloppy mid to late games on a team that's winning the early game, you need to think about these other teams that have such a good early game and how they're going to play into them. When the early game goes even, do they just massively fall behind in those later stages? Do they just lose out completely?
Dragon number 5 of the game will be spawning in the next 2 minutes, and it is going to be crucial to see whether or not there is any contest, because both of the teams will get onto Ocean Soul Point if they are able to pick this one up for themselves.
Cardiff can afford to just sack this Dragon entirely and play towards just pushing out the waves and getting Bradford in an awful position in the top side of the map, because the Baron will be spawning in a few minutes' time.
Yeah, it'll actually be spawning before the Dragon does, so even more crucial.
So getting wave control mid and top is so much more crucial than ever competing around that Dragon, that they can just ignore it, and even if Bradford ever commit to it, they lose their entire base.
Meanwhile, the push continues on multiple fronts. We've got Super Minions pushing in the top lane. This is an interesting 3-2 split, and actually it's Samwise who's gone for the fight. Mephistophelian losing a lot of health, using the Death Realm onto Hatims. I'm not entirely sure that's the target that you want. Having to flash to safety, and there is no safety over that wall. Hatims picking up a kill on the Victor, now 7, 3, and 4. This Lichbane Victor, absolutely destructive. Fiske is going to get knocked up. A lot of damage coming in. That's going to be Cassiopeia removing the healer from the Cardiff Saints. The Rams, of course, still have Myrtle of their own. The Wish is available for the Soraka if a fight continues, but every single time that we see Mako or one of these low health targets caught out by a Mystic Shot from Savonix, half the health bar disappears, and that's a lot for the Soraka to have to do. That's going to be the Enchanted Crystal Arrow landing onto the Jax. His health is being shredded through. He is going to die to Mako. All of a sudden, it's a 4 versus 4. 3.
And they're just, again, making so many errors. They've lost 2 members very quickly. The Victor and the Ezreal have so much work that they need to do to get this one back.
Here comes the Snowball looking for a chase, perhaps onto this Ezreal.
What's the
force
flash?
out of Savonix.
And they've got these 2 inhibitors, but they're just not utilizing the map pressure properly.
Flash forward from Hatim, so
But
aggressively
nothing.
throwing down the gravity field, but unable to get a pick. Meanwhile, over the wall goes Robinson. He has got a flash to get himself out of there. Instead, he wants to go forward. Void rushing straight onto Mako, but Mako's got the damage, and the Ashe picks up yet another kill. 5-3 and 8 now for the ADC of the Bradford Rams. What is this game?
And a whole minute now with Robster down. They have to look towards clearing out these waves and rushing towards that Baron. They have the ability to do it. Like we said, they can burn it. They just need a modicum of wave control.
Meanwhile, Vision just being cleared out around their base by the Bradford Rams, who have to realize that if they do leave to try and take down the Baron, they could easily lose another inhibitor, maybe just their entire base, already missing the inhibitor in the mid lane. They will lose out on this Dragon, which will be the 3rd of the game for the Cardiff Saints.
And Bradford Rams still somehow holding on. What a valiant effort it has been from these members who have capitalized on these advantages given to them to get back into this. This game should not be close. It was 5k in the lead at around 12-13 minutes, and it's only shrunk or stayed the same since then. Right now we're seeing less than a 3k gold lead, or just over rather a 3k gold lead for the Cardiff Saints, and that's not really enough at this phase of the game when you're looking into a Soraka who has Athenes plus that redemption as well. When you're looking at a Mordekaiser who's getting tankier and tankier.
The Baron is now the target for the Cardiff Saints. They start this one straight up, but Bradford Rams are waiting in the wings. They do not have Tequila able to join. No teleport, of course, on the Cassiopeia, so they are here without one of their big damage dealers. Meanwhile, the Jax is considering the split push. That's
Oh,
Big
God.
Fisky just picking up a kill onto Mako, just like that. The Fist of Alien does manage to take down the support in response, but this is not the trade that the Rams wanted. So much damage coming out of Hatim. He is going to get himself locked down by the Starfall. However, Savonix picks up another kill, and just like that, the Fist of Alien finds himself 3 versus 1, and the 3 are going to win. Double kill for the Ezreal. Meanwhile, we do see Jax trying to run away from the Cassiopeia, trying to get to safety, leap striking for days, able to get away from the Twin Fang, and actually just completely outmaneuvering this Cassiopeia, who now has to defend the base pretty much all by herself with a little bit of help from the Soraka. The damage coming in,
good
the
flash
knockup
knockup.
is there, and Rabster removes the final necessary target. Only Soraka standing between the Saints and victory, and there is nothing the healer can do. This is going to be the Bradford Rams losing out 2-0 to the Cardiff Saints. A valiant effort, but yet again, at the 30-minute mark, the Cardiff Saints will take the game.
And Cardiff Saints, they were playing with their food for a while there, we can maybe say, but unfortunately for the Bradford Rams, didn't really have enough to get back into it. Cardiff Saints get the 2-0 on the day. That game 1 looking a lot cleaner than the second one, I think we can definitely say. But all the same, that second game was very sloppy, and they made a lot of mistakes in it that could be capitalized on a lot easier by one of our, as we said, star teams, one of the teams that we expect to perform consistently, because you can't have an early game that dominant with the Rek'Sai playing that well, cutting the Cassio's, well, I guess tail off rather than breaking Akali's ankles like we normally see people doing. But the issue being that Cassio was 0-3 in the laning phase, was down 20-odd CS, and ended up being a massive carry threat by the end of the game.
We came into this best of 3 series, we and the rest of the people who are going to be playing Belong Arena Clash this split, with a lot of questions about the teams that were at the top of Group 2, and I think we came out with a lot of answers as well. Because while there were some excellent plays, some mechanical outplays, some nice macro at times, especially from the Saints, as you've said yourself, top-tier teams must be looking at that and going, there are so many things we can exploit.
I want to see how the Steelers respond to that, because the Steelers are renowned for playing more scaling teams. They aren't very good in terms of early aggression. So I want to see how those two match up, where do Cardiff get a decent lead and try and hold on to it throughout, or do they make those mistakes in the mid to late game that just allow a really easy comeback from the Steelers? So I think that matchup is going to be one of our ones in the coming weeks.
An exciting first matchup we've had tonight. That best of 3 series comes to its end with the Cardiff Saints taking down the Bradford Rams 2-0. We still have got one more best of 3 series to bring you on tonight. Thursdays, of course, League of Legends night and Belong Arena Clash, and the Ballymena Bears will be going up against the Humber Hunters shortly after this break.
just move on. Holding on to regrets we made. Now it's time to walk away.
Oh, you don't know my scars, but ooh, it's not who we are. Oh, you don't know my scars, but ooh, it's not who we are, who we are. Who we are. It's not who we are, who we are, who we are, who we are. It's not who we are.
Why don't we start again? Did this back to terms we went far away from everything. It's all I need, yeah. So tell me lies, fantasize. We don't need to justify what you need. Ain't hard to find, but you won't find it here. Oh, you don't know my scars, but ooh, it's not who we are.
Oh, you don't know my scars, but ooh, it's not who we are, who we are. It's not who we are. Who we are. Who we are. Who we are. It's not who we are. Who we are. Who we are. Who we are. It's not who we are.
Yeah, we are back. It's time for our second best of three of the evening. We have got a fairly new team in the Ballymena Bears who will be looking out and trying to make the Humber Hunters the hunted.
This is already happening. This has already started. It's like the moment we heard in
I've
the studio.
barely started.
Okay, the game tonight is Bears versus Hunters. I just sat with my head in my hands for a moment, remembering that Stan is my co-caster.
I mean, I'm allowed 3 per stream, right? I reckon I've had 1 so far. So I've got to utilize those 2 to the top set.
I felt like I heard one in the last game though. So you're on 1 left.
don't know what you're talking about. But either way, I'm actually really excited to see the Ballymena Bears. They're one of our new teams for Belong Arena Clash. They're coming up against the Humber Hunters, a team who have already looked strong in group number 4.
Already defeated.
Picking up a win.
They've already defeated the Clyde Claymores,
Exactly.
which is actually a very big pickup for a team that's looking to prove their worth. And Humber Hunters already have that under their belts. They can look for more.
The Ballymena Bears, they'll be looking to make the upset for sure. We'll be bringing you into pick and bans in that game just as quickly as we are able to. It's hard to look past the Humber Hunters for this game. What will the Ballymena Bears need to do if they're to make the upset that we are talking about?
Win draft.
Ban on!
If they're on blue side, just pick on because people leave it up.
Why are people leaving it up? I know I'm not getting into that conversation again. We've had it too many times.
Because people are dumb. If you at home are leaving Ornn up in your ranked games and wonder why your win rate is 48% with 1 million games played in Diamond 4, that's the reason why.
I personally don't ban Ornn for the pure reason that I hate Pyke with a passion. However,
So you trust that somebody in your team will? Because what I do is I
know,
wait
right?
to see what the other 4 bans in my team are.
oh, you're
and
the guy
then
that
decide.
keeps being in my games that I have to wait till the last second for.
No, I just wait for the 4 bans to be locked in and they go, okay, what's been left up? Because if Aphelios is left up, do I hate that more than I hate Ornn? Can we first pick Ornn? That kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, here are the lineups for the Ballymena Bears and for the Humber Hunters, the teams that we'll be looking at Champ Select very, very shortly. Humber Hunters comprise of Mini Zac, Carbines, some Penguins, Jordan, it's Psyduck, DCI Tackle.
And on the other side, we've got Sizzle, Monarchs, Nightwing, Dean W, 5-Leaf Clover, and Killer Hobo.
Not the sort of hobo you want to be meeting in a dark alley.
Killer
No-
Hobo and Bears, I'm thinking of the Revenant now already.
I mean, that didn't end well for anybody, really.
No,
We're
for
honest.
anybody.
No.
Everybody had a pretty bad time.
Pretty bad time.
You
Ballymena,
know, I'm a big movie buff, so I love me some DiCaprio movies.
what's
That
your
one-
favourite DiCaprio film?
Honestly, probably Django Unchained.
Oh, okay.
I feel like his performance in that was like his most Oscar-worthy performance he's ever done, and it was given to a later one because it's more like, we didn't give you one for one of your better movies, so we'll give you one here. It's like, it's always really weird. For example, like Martin Scorsese, The Departed was his first Oscar win. That's like his 8th best movie, and that's the first one he won the
Gangs of
Oscar
New York,
for.
so much better.
Yeah, it's like Casino, and you can list them for years.
Yeah. I'm a big Shutter Island fan, so
Okay.
I've got a lot of time for that. But I think it's nice for Leo that, I mean, if he had one with Django, it would have been Best Supporting Actor, whereas obviously
Yeah.
because he got Revenant,
It was
ended up
Best
being
Actor, yeah.
which is a nice touch. But anyway, we're into Pick and Ban, so we'll come back to talking about films in
Vladimir first
probably
ban.
about 30 seconds time.
Yeah.
Vladimir's taken away.
Yeah, Vladimir, he's not a vampire, he's a hemomancer, keep that in mind. Or if you're playing on the Chinese server, he's an oil mage, because
You can't have blood.
you can't show blood in
It's black-
Chinese
it's black,
games, so
isn't
it's
it?
just black, all the
Yep.
particles are black, so he's, at least colloquially to other casters I know, known as an oil mage.
Okay. Humber Hunters here banning away the Shaco. Not something you see very often in these pick and bans, so you'd have to expect that.
Yeah, that sounds like Target Man.
That Dean probably plays quite a lot of Shaco, and that one's going to be denied from him, as Master Yi is going to be banned away from the Carbine.
Oh, they've seen some funnel. Oh, I actually my team had to play against funnel recently. I was drafting against it, and we went. The moment we saw the Tarek locked in, it's like, oh, sorry, they locked in Tarek, and we went, we're going to ban Senna because we know they want to play Tarek Senna bot lane. They aren't going to play Kalista because nobody plays Kalista unless they're Challenger. They lock in instantly Master Yi and Lissandra mid. So we're looking at their comp, like they've got Morgana ADC, Lissandra mid, Tarek, Master Yi, and I can't remember who the top lane was, but it was no damage at all in their
Like
comp.
a
So we
Shen
just
or
went,
something.
well, we're just going to play Ezreal, Kassadin, and Karthus and just win the game. It was just that simple. We just let it. We let the game go. We played 1-3-1, and then Kassadin won the game for us.
Our final 3 bans, Zed, Urgot, and Olaf, taken away by these 2 teams. Now, we can see that a certain champion that's an anagram for Ron, if you spell it with 2 N's, is still available, but not going to get locked in by the Ballymena Bears. They take the Nautilus instead.
You mean an anagram for Norn?
Yeah, sure.
Norn of the North. But we're seeing that's a really weird first pick. It's trying to show us.
is,
It's really trying to show as little as possible if you are going to be willing to pick a Nautilus first.
I think it shows as little as possible, but it also doesn't secure one of the main power picks at the moment. You've talked extensively about how Aphelios and Ornn are so very strong, and there's a chance right now they both get locked in by the Hunters.
I swear if this is Aphelios, this is going to be such a rough game for the Ballymanor Bears.
I feel like if it's Aphelios, like at this point, you'll just take your headset off, walk off, and be done with this game.
I really hope that we... Oh, they actually lock
I
in
get
Vayne.
joined by Bruce for the second game.
So the thing that they're thinking of here is that Vayne is actually considered a counter in lane to Ornn, one of the few, because she has that true damage, and she can go for a Blaze of the Rune King first item to try and out-heal the issues that are created with the Bramble Vest. So they lock in Ornn and then go, well, if they're giving us Ornn, they must have a counter pick, right? That's wrong, they will never have a counter pick. So they instantly lock in Vayne with it to make sure that that can't be the case. But I like the response from the Ballymanor Bears. They've got the Nautilus already. They go for a long-range winning lane in the bot lane of Nautilus and MF, and they've got really long-range engage from the Zac. Red Kayn picked up in response. This is, like we said, if you have the ability to play Conqueror Red Kayn into tanks, it's generally a very good pickup.
Okay, that's going to be the Ballymanor Bears finishing off their first stage of the draft with the Zac, as you were referencing.
Nice.
The Kayn was the counter there.
That could actually be Zac top into Ornn.
Set has been taken away. We saw that fairly recently in, was it Bwipo, I think, played?
Zac top. Oh,
The
okay,
Zac
yeah.
top?
Yeah, I actually believe you're right. I believe he did play that one. Zac top, very good with the Sunfire changes. Of course, has multiple ways to proc the pulse.
Didn't have to play into Ornn in that game, to be fair.
Yes, Ornn would win that lane. But to be fair, Zac would just E and then E all the way out.
I'm still expecting the Zac to be jungle, if I'm perfectly honest, but it's nice to think about these potential flex. So we do see the set already banned away. I'm expecting to see another top lane ban, if I am being brutally
I don't think you
honest.
really need one at this point. I think that's it. The only real one that you'd be thinking of is Gangplank.
Okay.
And Mordekaiser perhaps, but we know he beats Mordekaiser.
One last ban to come out of the Humber Hunters. They decided to remove Darius from the champ
yeah, I
pool.
can see it. Darius is one of the best matchups into Ornn.
We've already had the one mid lane ban coming out of the Ballymanor Bears, taking away the Cassiopeia from Papori. We might see another mid lane ban as well, or maybe something directed towards the support champion pool.
See, this is the difference between when I get tilted by drafts and when I'm happy with the decisions being made. Humber Hunters, you can look at the draft and go the Ornn Vayne, the Kayn third pick. I may not even like these champions and think that was the best possible pick there, but I can at least see the cogs turning in the head. I can see what they're thinking and why they're going for it, and there are legitimate reasons why they are going for these champions.
Still waiting to see exactly what's going to get locked in for this top lane for the Ballymanor Bears, because that will probably depend on whether I agree with you or not.
But Humber Hunters, they have this understanding of what they're doing there. Yeah, it's felt like it would be this like Sombra just appears on the screen or something. It's, oh no, it's happening. Okay, Vayne Alistar. I'm liking this. Actually, one thing we've got to keep in mind is if they do go, let's just play a tank top into the Ornn, they just throw Vayne top and Ornn mid, and then that's just easy matchups again.
There is a lot of flex potential through the Humber Hunters squad as the Jax gets locked
top
in,
into Ornn.
likely to go into the into the Humber Hunters top laner that is most likely to be Ornn at this point. We did see the Jax in the last game. That one was playing up against the Mordekaiser and did pretty solidly. It's going to be a lot tougher up against the Forge God.
One top laner that I am actually encouraging people to practice into Ornn, because I'm not 100% how the matchup plays out, but as Ornn gets nerfed more, it will matter more and more, is the Jax.
Okay.
For example, like Ornn, his full combo is based around landing the Brittle proc multiple times. You can block a Brittle proc and stun him. It gives you a free escape, and in the later stages you can play maneuverable enough with your Leap Strike to be able to dodge out his ultimate as well. And it just makes the matchup so much more playable into. The Ornn is just too strong, though. Ornn will win this matchup because Ornn is currently Ornn. But when the nerfs do come through next patch, this is actually going to be a very relevant matchup in the top side.
The mid lane picks are Ziggs and Orianna for the Hunters and Bears, respectively. The drafts are completed yet again. We do see this Ornn getting through. So far, it's been unbeaten in the Long Arena Clash through this split. Will that remain the same?
But the Humber Hunters have... Ooh, okay, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
What did I miss?
Vayne was switched mid for a second. That would be Vayne mid into Orianna and Ziggs bot lane, which I'd actually think the Ziggs would do very well. I think the Vayne would do very poorly. So I think that would be an interesting one. Vayne would also die in the top lane, so you don't want to put it there. I think that's what they were playing into. What doesn't just die to Vayne and can do decently into Ornn, that's why they go with the Jax. But the key issue here for the Humber Hunters is they've got two matchups that are very difficult to play out. Orianna can do really well into the matchup, but Ziggs generally just wants to stay at the massive range, longest range possible, and try and poke out. Whereas Vayne, Alistar into MF Nautilus is a very difficult matchup to pull off.
It's generally considered quite a late game scaling one where you've got to wait and hope that you get the damage later on, but you're giggling at me.
It's because I can hear the Ezreal sound effects coming from a Legends of Runeterra game.
How are you enjoying Runeterra so far? Because I know you were really big on it when it first came out.
Yeah.
Still going strong?
I can't commit the most time to it because I've been busy. I've been coaching a team. Of course, I do the work here. It makes it difficult to commit too much time to a card game, but I am still putting a lot of games in. I'm still enjoying it. Currently playing a Heimerdinger Ezreal deck and really loving it.
Very nice. Here we go, we're into game. Ballymena Bears starting off just like we saw the Cardiff Saints doing last time. The
Mafia
5-man strong, stacking up in the Tribush, looking to see if they can get some kind of pick early on.
It is that Mafia MF. I do like that skin. MF's got so many skins. I think she has one of the highest amounts of skins in the game. But all of her skins are actually really good quality besides one or two.
One that I would argue isn't the best quality, but is secretly, well, not even secretly, because I'm telling people, is my favourite, is the Secret Agent Misfortune.
Oh yeah.
Purely for the reason that at Worlds going back 5 years ago, I guess now, when it was here in London, I was cosplaying Secret Agent Xin Zhao, and there was a Secret Agent Misfortune, and we did loads of like photos and stuff together, and it was just really fun to have that that mashup of the two champions that sort of go so nicely together.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Of course, those sort of events, especially when you're cosplaying, do bring people together. It's just like, oh, that is the thing I recognize.
That's what we do.
Yes.
I mean, I put more effort into. I mean, admittedly, I was basically just wearing a suit, but at the same time, I put more
But it's
effort.
a pinstripe suit.
I mean, no, it was just a black suit.
Oh, it's just the black one.
But I mean, I put a decent number of hours into making the spear and the tip, and
The tip and the spear behind it.
yeah, and that in comparison to the Surgeon Shen, which, when asked in a cosplay competition, how long did it take you to make this outfit, I responded with, how long does it take to press buy it now on eBay? It felt like I'd sort of accomplished something, and then I had, other people standing around, like one of the most amazing people, make me cosplay, look him up on Instagram. He did the most wonderful Braum you'll ever see, basically living personification of Braum, and yeah, it was just a bit of a feels bad moment,
I think you. I've told you about. I did a cosplay of a Death Stranding thing. I put that on Twitter. And it was just the most budget thing I've ever done.
I loved it.
I'm just gonna back away here. Oh, big trade actually. They press the attack proccing there, but just gonna threaten him out. He's gonna pop a potion and be just fine. Actually, going corrupting on support. What?
Oh, meanwhile, this is some good damage being put down to the Ornn so far.
Oh no!
Jack's looking pretty good in the top lane. You're looking at the corrupted potions on the Nautilus here as we see the flash away from tackle.
Not a support item on the Nautilus here. That is a corrupting potion. That means that he is going to really struggle in this lane matchup. He doesn't even have the extra health. He's just going this purely for survivability. Have to believe it's a mistake.
And it's going to be so long as well until we see any kind of warding item completed. So not the start for the Bears.
There was actually a reason this morning for some support to... we saw a double support item.
You're starting to talk about this.
In the LCK, we saw the Senna Tahm Kench, where...
Papori having to flash away. The Ballymena Bears being very proactive with their early aggressive plays. In fact,
so we saw the Senna Tahm Kench in the bot lane role, but they both went the support item so that Tahm Kench could funnel that a little bit of extra gold onto Senna so she could get a first back longsword pink ward. Because they cheat her back after 3 waves, that's what you do. They get a decent amount of control, they get like 6 procs off of the Relic Shield, and effectively it's 200 less gold on the Tahm Kench, but it's because he sells his support item and then buys the Doran Shield, but it's 200 more gold on the Senna, who is still the carry. Puts him a little bit further behind where he want to be early, but it gives the Senna so much gold.
Yet again, Jack's looking so good. One more Leap Strike would have been enough to secure first blood for the Ballymena Bears, who are currently looking very strong, and that is going to be first blood indeed. The flash Leap Strike is good enough to see Jax picking up that kill on the Ornn.
Yeah, this is one of the few counter matchups that are, as I said, Jax will kind of get outscaled in this one as it currently stands.
Oh, this is going to be a good knock-up landing, and here comes the Kayn through the wall, not even going to be able to pick up an assist because Vayne has already done the damage. That was Alistar with the starting play, throwing down the Ignite. Nice plays out of the Hunters.
Different kind of Vayne spotting this time around as a big trade coming through. This is a Grasp of the Undying Ornn, actually, in this matchup. is just going to chase him down, land as much as he can. He's got a big wave to clean up.
Oh, Sizzle caught underneath tower. The headbutt and the pulverize both going to land one more target shot. Not enough
really
to pick up the
nice.
kill. As we see Onan taking a second kill, all for himself. Kane this time was able to get himself an assist onto Sizzle as he died under turret.
Jordan balances the aggro perfectly there, bouncing out of the tower range exactly the right time. That looks like they're going to pick up another tower shard here. And they're going to base off.
Some good gold going into the pocket of Onan and the rest of his team. Humber Hunters, they've got themselves a 1,500 gold lead. Nautilus on that back didn't actually pick up any kind of item whatsoever.
Can you repeat who picked up?
Sorry, Nautilus on that one. Meanwhile, we do see the stretching strikes are going to pull Papori back, trying to get some damage down, throwing out the emote. The BM is there, the damage is there from Orianna, but not quite enough to take down Ziggy Boy. Meanwhile, in the top lane, here comes Star once again, trying to get on to tackle, trying to get a second solo kill.
So the Nautilus has finally got his support item. The problem he had is he didn't have any gold generation, so he wasn't really able to pick up anything on the first back. He had to wait so much longer. Really nice base cancel and an emote just to tilt him there as well from Papori.
That's one of my favourite emotes. The little sort of Z shot
Z.
face is wonderful, isn't it?
Do you remember it was actually years ago they added a Facebook emote pack for League of Legends?
I use it pretty much daily.
Long before the emotes were added to the client.
Yep. A knock up here from Tackle, trying to keep himself alive, just waiting on the cooldown of the Leap Strike. There it is, Jax, able to get a second kill onto this Ornn. Yeah, no, I literally use that every day, most regularly with the Soraka.
Of course you use Facebook, you're old. Oh yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Are you
but
on
come
anti-vax pages with a bunch of mothers?
No, I am not. Just to clarify, Papori has hit level 6, has got the Mega Inferno Bomb available. Flash over the wall from Jordan, just repositioning.
Hey, that was a
here.
Hex Flash,
It
that's
was
fine.
Yeah, of course it was a Hex Flash, but even so, nice little reposition. Gonna make it rain, putting some damage down on top of him, but yeah, so does not care one iota as Elastic Slingshot is charged. Papori, bad find himself. The target does not have the flash available. Stretching strikes aren't going to get any kind of knockback. Papori
Nice
is going to
kill.
die to Dean. Nice gank coming in from Zac. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Oman, who has already got so very much damage, the Berserker Greaves completed, able to just rip through the health bars on this Nautilus.
So what looks even? The kill score. What does not look even? The gold score. Is there's still 1,500 gold in the lead for the Humber Hunters. Still a huge lead. This Vayne is 3-0. And even if the Jax is getting strong, they've got enough disengage between the Alistar, the Ornn, and the Kayn that he'll never really be able to sit on top of Vayne in these fights.
And the Hunters are getting something of a storm of CS coming their way as well. They're mainly looking at this 2,000 gold lead, most of it in the pocket of Oman here in the bot lane, who when he backs is going to be able to pick up that build toward Cutlass so very easily.
Ooh, big engage here onto the Alistar. Doesn't have a level 6 yet, not tanky.
We do see the Orianna join the fight, has got the shockwave available. Jordan trying to get away, but no, you're not going to.
4 members in that bot lane, you just have to sacrifice the Alistar and say, oh well, we'll get them next time, boys, it's fine.
Yet again, Counter-Strike and Leap being used effectively by the Jax. This time, however, Ornn is considerably tankier. Someone who's not tanky at all is the Orianna, who is going to die to Onan, who is now 4. And Call of the Forge God being used, getting the knock-up onto the Jax. Here comes the Kayn through the wall, and just like that, Carbon gets his first kill of the game.
He had the ability to proc Brittle twice. The ultimate procs the Brittle, and you auto them to proc it, then you go for the W. He went for it all in one, minimizing the damage, but also he gave Jax a little bit of time there where he might have been able to get out. They do still nail down the kill. I want to see optimal play.
This is one of the things I always wonder about with the Ornn, is it's that sort of, we'll call it the flavour of the month champion. It's the strongest thing on the Rift right now. There are people out there picking it up because it's strong, not because that they are maybe necessarily excellent at playing the champion themselves. I think we're seeing that coming out of the Humber Hunters here. Maybe this is the reason why the ban didn't come through from the Ballymena Bears. They looked at the OPGG for Tackle and went, he doesn't play it, we'll be okay. Now Tackle's playing it, not playing it optimally, but it just doesn't matter because it's still going to have so much late game relevance.
When you're saying looking at the OP.GG for Tackle, I'm just imagining like pulling up the Bulbapedia, looking at Tackle only has 50 power, guys. We're fine. Don't worry about it.
Does it even have 50?
Yeah, it's 50 now.
50,
It used to be lower. I believe it's hovered around 35 to 40, but now it's 50.
That's a nice little
Change from 95 accuracy as well.
double tap onto Onan there, but looking at Nautilus' health yet again, finding himself shredded through every time those silver bolts are procced. Meanwhile, Papori in the mid lane, he's got himself a 34 CS advantage over this Orianna.
You know what? Speaking of Pokemon, hey guys, you know Pokemon?
I do know Pokemon.
Oh my god, do you know about Pokemon? It's Pokemon Day today. What's your favorite Pokemon? Spam your favorite Pokemon in chat.
Or spam the new Bruce emote, which frankly is the most wonderful thing ever. And if you don't know who Bruce the Sloth is, get on Twitter and find out. Onan has just picked himself up. No kills there. Carbine taking both of them away from the ADC, but Onan won't mind too much about that at all. He's so strong. The Herald is being summoned in his bot lane. This is going to be first turret to the Humber Hunters at the 10-minute mark.
See, that was Guillotine being used on the bot lane there. It's just going to easily finish them
Crab
up in
hammer.
one quick. Crab Hammer, what a move.
Papori here might be slightly caught out as Jax looks for the gank. This is going to be Papori getting himself into enemy territory, but the teleport coming in. DC Tackle is going to be here to join the fight, and Papori is surviving.
Oh, wow.
Can't say the
They
same for
turned this.
Monarchs. This is a nice turnaround. Call of Forge God with the knockup. Double kill coming in from Papori. He was the one who found himself in enemy territory, but he had all the friendos he needed.
One very quick collapse there by the Humber Hunters is going to give them access to this dragon. Now they're going to leash this out, most likely, because you don't want to see an MF ult coming over this wall right now.
If you ever wanted to see a bear being taken down by a hunter, this might be your opportunity. This is going to be yet another kill for the Hunters as they chase down the Nautilus. They've picked up the Infernal Dragon. They get their 10th kill of the game as well. They've got a near 7,000 gold lead at 11 minutes.
I'm just imagining Humber Hunters playing like Zoe mids, and you just the E is a tranquilizer dart to help you hunt the bears.
I think, I mean, I'm trying to, Onan, he's gone really deep into enemy territory. He saw Papori do this, now he thinks he can as well. That's going to be the shutdown coming in, courtesy of a nice little shockwave.
Big shutdown gold given over. You know, bot lane experience has been nerfed, so unless you're willing to have the Alistar roam away from bot lane and give Vayne CS on her own for a while, she's not going to be able to go 2v1 purely because she is in total 3 levels down on the two of them. If she's 2 levels up, she can actually go for that play, but it's just because they've stuck together so much as a duo. Vayne hasn't picked up the solo CS, which is of course higher than bot lane XP by a lot. It just sets her behind.
Interesting to see that we've got Jax here in the mid lane. He was trying to push up, trying to get himself a little bit of damage onto the turret. However, he's finding himself a little bit of help from the Elastic Slingshot, from the stretching strikes of Zac. Here comes Orianna as well. Shockwave is not available.
It's Kanye.
And here comes Kayn. He's already got himself Red Kayn completed, and he is doing even more damage than he was previously. Orianna with the zone control is able to stop any kills coming in, but the Hunters are looking unstoppable.
Important to note, this was a really early transformation from the Carbine on the Kayn as well, so he is so massively in lead in terms of this jungle matchup. 3 kills, 2 assists, and of course, big CS lead, big XP lead, but the transformation is the most important part.
Meanwhile, up in the top side, we saw this fight going in favor of the Jax so many times, but now the Ornn has arrived. This is going to be Monarchs trying to get into safety, not able to do so. Here's going to be the Zac going down into blob form on the back of the Umbral Trespass from the Kayn, but he's taking turret shots. He's got to be very careful. One more turret shot, not enough to do it, because I think he did. I actually thought it was Presence of Mind. Is it Presence of Mind?
The Triumph was what you're thinking of, but the E into the wall healed him enough that turret shot doesn't take him down.
Flash forced out of the Misfortune. She's got nowhere to go, trying to strut her way to safety. Vayne completely dominating this bot lane.
That top lane, again, we're seeing how this matchup plays out. Jax did very well in the early game to bully him, but the moment that Sunfire is completed, do you know what Ornn does? He just sits, watches you trade into him, presses 2 buttons, and wins.
Oh, look at the damage coming in from the Vayne. The dredge line doesn't connect from Nautilus, and it is the death of him. Papori going down, despite bullet time raining across the map.
Really
Papori
nice
able to pick up one as Vayne gets another. 2 quick kills for the Humber Hunters as they continue their pressure across the map.
And now look at these score lines: 5-0, 4-1, 6-1. It started off well for the Ballymena Bears. They were staying even on at least the kill front. The CS front, they were falling behind in everything bar top lane. But now look at this. Almost double the CS in mid lane. So much of an advantage.
Oh, we do see that Dream is looking for a play. However, it's going to be Onan who immediately turns it around on the Ballymena Bears. The mid lane are forced to back away despite throwing down a Shockwave, and Papori managing to throw a Mega Inferno bomb straight on the head of the retreating Monarchs. Another kill for the Hunters. 5-1-2. It's a battle right now between Papori and Onan to decide decide just who's going to be the most fed.
Let's just add up the total CS difference here, roughly. So it's 40 in the jungle, minus 10 in the top lane, so 30. 55 in the mid lane, so 85, and another
30.
25, 25 and 80 carry. So yeah, this is over 100 total. This is absolutely insane CS leads being created right by the Humber Hunters. Just from the laning phase. The laning phase is just coming to an end now. As the turrets have been opened up, people are maneuvering around the map more often. And that's so much gold. Think about an average minion's worth. It's about 18, 19 gold, around 20 regardless.
Kayn with the chilling smite, able to immediately slow down the Misfortune, who's not going to be strutting out of this one. Carbine not even having to use the Umbral Trespass to pick up this kill. Here comes Ziggs throwing bombs down, and Jax taking a huge chunk off his health immediately. Herald is available, and it looks like the Hunters might be trying to set up for that one.
So the 2,000 gold CS lead on top of all this pressure they've got in objectives, the towers they've taken down, the shards they got. It's already just 15 minutes, nearing 10k.
There is a shockwave available for Monarchs in just a couple of seconds maybe to try and save this turret. Meanwhile, Onan going for the straight out 1v1, going to win it easily against the Jax. And this is going to be a 7-1 Vayne. The shockwave does catch on to Vapori, but he heals up just enough. But the turret shot comes in right at the last second to mean that the shutdown gold is going into Monarchs' pocket, but the turret is going to go down. The Hunters able to take this one all for themselves. Carbine dashing forward, finding the Umbral Trespass onto the Misfortune. One more attack will be enough to send Carbine to an 8-0-3 scoreline. We talked about the Ziggs, we talked about the Vayne. Kayn is the real carry.
And the Humber Hunters looking clean here. Only a couple mistakes in the early game on that top side of the map. Other than that, this has been so dominant. They're going to break open the inhibitor here. And the Baron hasn't even spawned yet. This is a 16-minute inhibitor.
Carbine has been attacked by the stretching strikes, but no way for Dream to try and follow up on this one as we see the teleport being channeled. The Humber Hunters look like they might be trying to end the game here and there.
That's a forfeit.
But they are going to end it right here because that is going to be the /FF coming in. Ballymena Bears deciding they wanted no more. The Hunters in dominant fashion in game number 1.
You could see there that the taunting Kayn not even hitting the inhibitor just broke them. 16-minute win.
That was a dominant performance from a Humber Hunters team.
We've had discussions before.
We've been waiting to see them because we saw what they did against the Claymores. We wanted to see what they could do. And right now, they just made the Ballymena Bears look like they almost weren't on the Rift.
We've had discussions before about what is the quickest game in Arena Clash history, at least on the stream, because we can't track all of them. But that is it. I don't believe we've ever seen a pre-17-minute win. 16 minutes. The FF vote only started 1 minute before that. And the FF vote had to be unanimous 5-0 for them to FF there before the 20-minute mark.
I personally hate to see an FF on the stream in these games.
I do too,
They're nice competitive games, and it's a shame when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, certain amount of sympathy for the Ballymena Bears because they were taking one hell of a beating.
They, as we said, 100 CS natural leads across the lanes, and it just led to just being completely torn apart. They had no strong point once the Jax started losing, and I think that was really the trigger where mentally it was just something snapped, where they'd like, we can't win this game anymore. When the Jax died in that kill in the top lane, and then when the Jax had to run away from an Ornn in a 1v1.
The question is the damage done both mentally and in terms of the game state as well? Because we're going into a second game of this series. Ballymena Bears are a fairly new team here at Arena Clash. They lost that in, like you say, the quickest game that we've ever broadcast that we know of. So and now they've got to find a way back.
I have sympathy for them, as you say. But we're looking at this as they lost every lane in terms of CS other than top lane.
Including lanes that were winning lanes in the early game.
Yes, we saw MF and Nautilus doing well in lane, but losing massively in CS. We saw mid lane, Orianna doing fine, losing massively in CS. And this leads to an opinion that I have where Ballymena Bears, regardless of if they do pick up the kills like we saw them do in the last game, they got that gank off of mid, they were very successful in some of the early plays. It just doesn't matter because the gold lead is never going to go in their favor if they can't play the lanes out the way they're supposed to be played.
At the end of that game, get your trackers up because once again, Ornn was victorious. Despite this time having a slightly slower start up against the Jax, the bans now coming through, all targeted towards the mid lane. The Orianna, Zed, and Vladimir taken away so far.
What is that, 100% win rate for Ornn on stream right now?
As far as I know, yes.
But that's the most deaths we've seen from Ornn in a game in a while, because that Ornn did struggle in the early phase. I want to be clear, I love Jax as a counter pick. I said this during the game. I think it's one of the best counter picks you have to the Ornn available, but you get outscaled.
All right. Olaf now banned away by the Ballymena Bears. We've still got a couple bans set to come through. One of them might be set. Irelia is removed by the Humber Hunters. Ballymena Bears, will they look at this Ornn? I mean, it wasn't the reason they lost that last game, if we're perfectly blunt.
I don't think Ballymena Bears will ban it because they think, oh yeah, it lost lane, we're fine. We're fine with that.
They don't want to go up against the Yi.
Yeah, so the Ornn will be picked again, and it wasn't so much what Ornn provided in lane that game. Think about how many kills he helped pick up with his ultimates on roams, how many key knockups he was landing in those skirmishes that put them further and further ahead. He was even more impactful than the Vayne was.
I'm gonna risk a prediction here. I'm gonna say I don't think the Ornn is gonna get locked in. I think the Humber Hunters
Humber
just won.
Hunters will have a bit more fun with it.
Last game that.
Ooh, okay, there it is. Yeah.
The
So
boss is locked in.
They're going to have a bit more fun with it, and I don't think Tackle wants to lose lane hard again. Because he was losing lane very convincingly. Set also loses to Jax, unfortunately, but he at least has a better time of it because, of course, his W isn't affected by the counter-strike. He can still do that true damage through it, and at least lets him try and turn things around.
You can have a little bit of fun with it as well, whereas the Ornn, it's kind of a, how to describe it, dull lane?
Ornn is a dog champ, but he's the most pog dog champ we've ever had.
He's a pog dog champ.
Yes, exactly.
That's really fun to say. Nautilus locked in first for the second time for the Ballymena Bears. Considering that
I'm really looking forward to actually in Korea. They've got the Player of the Game awards. They don't call it the MVP there. They call it the Pog points that they get. So at the end of the season, when somebody has the most points, they will be crowned the Pog champ. That's going to be the Korean MVP.
I want to touch briefly on this Nautilus. We saw it locked in last time around. And
Lucian mid.
It was...
They really need AP in the jungle, so the Gragas has been taken away. You can look at Karthus, so I think you'd want to ban Karthus and Elise away, which would leave Talia as the remaining jungler.
I was just going to ask if Killer Hobo played the Nautilus last time around, or if this is a sub coming in for the Ballymena Bears.
I'm not certain. It was on screen for such a short amount of time, I can't tell.
It kept dying. I thought it was a different name. So I think there is Killer Hobo coming in as a support. Also, we're seeing some Penguins coming in as ADC for Humber Hunters in place of Onan, who had a great game last time round on the Vayne. Had a few interesting picks here. Tristana, the latest lock-in.
Another option is we could see Jordan have some fun and go, I'm going to play Brand or something like that to try and make up for the AP damage. Then they don't need it as much from the jungle.
Belkos.
But this is a perfect game for a Karthus. Like, no joke, this is probably one of the best games you'll have to play Karthus because Gragas has almost no way of building MR. He wants to go full tank and he'll have to go for the Zhonyas. Tristana, she'll need a GA before she can block your ultimate. And there's no incentive on their team to build any magic resistance besides a Karthus. So his ultimate cleans up. He gets to go directly into the Andres, Deathcap, and shred people.
Leona and Cassiopeia banned away by the Ballymena Bears. Humber Hunters took away the Nasus, perhaps might look to ban away the Jax as it wasn't early picked to try and counterplay against this set in the top lane. Set, of course, not necessarily going into the top lane. Could still be a jungle set with the Twitch playing ADC. No, they're not.
But Gragas is already picked.
Maybe they didn't want to see it in the mid lane.
Come on. Karthus is so good.
Oh, this is the Ornn lock-in. Okay.
Yes. This is actually really rough because you want to play Karthus there. Instead, they are going to go for another AP jungler, like we said. The Elise is one of them. The Talia is one of them.
So this is Lucian mid, Twitch ADC?
Yes. And that is a Swain support as well.
Okay.
I'm interested to see how this one plays out. What I would have wanted to see is actually like a Pantheon paired with this. You can go set mid, Lucian AD carry, and the Pantheon top. Or you can just switch Pantheon and Set at will. Both of them have a lot of good matchups. But Pantheon Talia is one of the most aggressive combos in the game. And the Yasuo Gragas is locked in. They really need to make aggressive plays. But like we said, the issue being, that even though they're making good plays in the early game, even though they're getting kills in the early game, the fact that their CS is falling so far behind just means they're going to be locked out of those mid-game skirmishes so heavily by the item disparities.
Okay, the compositions are complete. Ballymena Bears have drafted as best as they feel that they can, hopefully, to try and come back to go 1-all in this series against the Humber Hunters. Humber Hunters trying to continue their push in group number 4, try to continue staying at the top of the table.
Don't do this to me.
This is going to be the Twitch jungle with the APC bot lane Taliyah.
Come on, if you're going to do that, at least lock the Pantheon support. At least do it properly.
I legitimately almost called this because I actually saw this exact combination in one of my games, I believe it was yesterday, on the Rift, and I didn't want to argue with you, so I didn't mention it, but
yeah,
that's exactly what we're seeing.
I would have assumed it was the Twitch AD carry. I just assumed it was something he'd want to play, but the Twitch jungle could be a nice cheese pick where he's looking to just gank a lane that isn't expecting it early. Honestly, the Ornn has to be worried now because Twitch is going to go pretty much red buff, blue buff top lane and kill Ornn, because Set is going to be level 3 by that point. We'll have the ability to land that E and try and zone him out. At least if he allows Ornn to push, which he can choose to let Ornn push anytime he wants. He just sentences Ornn to death at that point.
Speaking of Ornn's death, one of two things will happen in this game. Either the Ballymena Bears will get their first ever on-stream win for Belong Arena Clash, or Ornn will have his first loss of the season. Yet again, we see the 5-man stack, this time from the Humber Hunters.
Okay, so this Taliyah bot lane. Taliyah's worked ground was changed quite a bit ago, which changed the worked ground to only last for 45 seconds. This enables her to pretty much get the Qs off on every single wave, every wave and a half. So if she plays the lane effectively, she can get full control with her shove potential. And once she gets to her first item, she hits like a truck. So she's gone for the Dark Harvest. She's really trying to snowball. Ravenous Hunter is going to provide so much to her as well because she is such a consistent DPS champion.
Humber Hunters just playing around here with their recalls. Maybe they were expecting some kind of invade from the Ballymena Bears like we saw last time around.
Well.
Instead, we are going to get the just slow, steady start. It's got to be all Mafia champs being played today, I reckon.
I actually really want to see a Mafia Swain skin now. That actually sounds like a lot of fun.
I'd be up for that, yeah. Mafia Braum is a wonderful skin, by the way.
Imagine him in that, like, he's wearing a suit underneath it, but he's got the big sort of trench coat over the top. That sounds really cool.
We were both talking about sort of cheapish cosplays that we'd done, myself with my surgeon.
I'd actually, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I cosplayed just to be clear, I cosplayed the main character of Death Stranding, and Twitch just tagging in mid lane there. But yeah, as a budget cosplay, I got like a water cooler sort of bottle, filled it with orange jelly, and put a plastic baby inside it. The funniest part, because I was in the States at the time, was going into Walmart and going, okay, looking at all the plastic babies, going, which one of these am I gonna have to encase in Jello? which one is spending the rest of its life covered in orange Jello?
Well, where I was going with that train of thought before we dissected that cosplay.
I actually had to ask a member of staff. Like, I picked up, I had the jug, and I was like, so.
Will this baby fit in this jug?
Kind of. It's just like,
you're just going up to a staff member of Walmart going, do you reckon a baby will fit in the jug?
Do you reckon this baby will fit in this jug?
I mean, honestly, as long as you're going in and you've got the baby in the hand as well to ask it, because then you're just asking the question, would a baby fit in this jug?
This would be really suspect, and I think they'd have to call the police on me at that point.
Oh, dearie me. But no, what I was going to say is it takes me back to one of my favourite cosplays of all time. We go back to Worlds 2015, and NA had just got knocked out in the groups, and there were a load of NA fans who came over.
So you mean every year?
Well, yeah, pretty much, as we see Ornn just doing Ornn things, and despite the damage coming out of tackle, he's in all sorts of trouble, uses the face breaker, but has to flash away. The flash and response is going to be there from the Ornn, who takes first blood from Ballymena Bears.
I said that tackle could have just allowed the Ornn to push. He didn't do that and got caught out.
Oh, speaking of getting caught out, heal and rocket jump both burned just to keep Sizzle alive there in the bot lane.
Really close to dying there. Of course, the Dark Harvest stacked there, but you were saying NA just got knocked out of groups.
So they just got knocked out of groups, and there are a group of NA fans who are obviously hoping to be cheering on their team. That wasn't to be. Instead, what they did was they just cut out bin bags wore them to show that they were absolute trash, had the names of the three teams that had been knocked out from NA across their chest, and then just bought loads of salt and threw it everywhere. It was the most wonderful cosplay I think I've ever seen, as Carbine picks himself a kill up in the top lane.
Nice gank there, yeah, able to catch him out. Wave stacking up into him. That is a terrible Wave's position. He is going to be forced to TP back to this one. And he is likely to be able to pick up most of the CS as they haven't collapsed the wave very quickly. But if Twitch hovers around, they can maybe look to get some deep wards in the jungle, at least try and get a camp for themselves.
Carbine looking for a second expunge.
Big
The
knock
rocket
up.
jump is pulled back. Some Penguins just absolutely obliterated Sizzle.
Okay, Talia's one of my main champions, so having seen that, that was a picture-perfect seismic shove. I love to see that. Able to lock him down, get that first kill for herself, and she's massively ahead.
Gragas looks to the flash body slam and finds it onto Lucian, who's trying to dash away but has no way of surviving here. Monarch's getting a kill onto Papori.
Credit to Dean. Once again, having a very nice early game, able to get a good flash body slam off, secure that kill onto Papori, and get an important first kill for them in that lane onto Monarchs, who needs to snowball on this Yasuo. We see there's a Yasuo Gragas, and another important thing is every single member here is built around knocking up somebody for the Yasuo. You may not think about it with Tristana, but she gets a multi-man knockback with her ult. You instantly ult as Yasuo. And that is so useful in those team fights as an additional setup, because if the Yasuo sees the Gragas barrel go in, not quite land where you want it to, that is where you can follow up with a Tristana knock-up, an Ornn knock-up, a Nautilus knock-up onto a key target, and it makes it so much easier to target select.
Twitch is hiding out in the bot lane, looking for potential gank onto the Tristana, and he's going to be a sepia screen very, very briefly as we have ourselves a small pause at the near 6-minute mark. Things looking good for the Ballymena Bears so far. They're keeping themselves much closer in CS than they did in the last game. They've got a couple of kills onto key champions. Overall, much better start. They want to obviously come back and take this game against the Hunters.
Do you know where the start wasn't better?
Looking good.
Bot lane. They were 17 CS to the 32. So the Talia's just base. She's got a really good base timing off. So she's coming back with a lot of gold, a lot of money into that lane, where she should be exerting a lot of pressure. And it's going to be really difficult for Tristana to hold her own if the Nautilus can't really protect her.
It's I want to go back to that nice seismic shove you were talking about.
Yes.
The timing of it was pretty much perfect, but it was somewhat telegraphed. We got the pullback coming in from the never move of Swain.
Yes.
As the rocket jump was there to take Tristana out of it, there was the seismic shove beautifully back.
It's not as easy as you're alluding to here, because the Tristana W, the rocket jump, can be buffered into any CC. So if you are caught during your animation where you're using W, she can be knocked back and still jump. However, it was shortly after the animation had ended. The nuance time really matters there.
A Call of the Forge God summoned in the top lane just as we see a
really
massive ult coming in from the set, and DCI Tackle is maybe looking for a promotion there as he gets himself a nice kill onto the Ornn, who is now 1-2-0.
Getting a closer inspection of that Ornn there as he's able to really utilize his ult effectively to deny the Ornn ult. Didn't get the brittle proc onto him, finish him off, and really making up for lost time after that previous game where he really struggled in the laning phase.
Twitch consistently hovering around the bot lane, looking for more and more kills. However, this time spotted out by the control ward that the Ballymena Bears had put down.
We talked about this before. You said it's like an inverted power bomb kind of thing?
Yes, sort of. It's a weird motion because he spins around as if it's sort of a Michael Jordan-esque slam dunk, which you would never see in any kind of wrestling move. I
really want to see a Jarvan Cataclysm as he ults somebody from outside of it into it.
Oh,
just a
my word,
full
how
slam
cool
dunk. That's how they should advertise Dunk Master's set, because if there's ever been a champion that deserves a Dunk Master skin,
it's not either. That's going to be the flash and the dredge line connecting onto the Swain, who's taking a lot of damage. Flashes away. In comes Sizzle with the rocket jump, immediately going away, not wanting to die. But here comes the Gragas. Maybe a slight miscommunication there, because this Talia could be in a bit of danger. Has got the support of the Twitch, and the dredge line connects onto a minion. Here comes the Twitch. He's looking for the damage with the expunge. He's actually going to give this one over to some Penguins, but Monarchs has joined the fray. Lucian is coming down as well. It is a party in the bot lane.
And can Lucian really do much here? Throws out an ult into no man's land as Sizzles walks back in there for a moment.
And that is why he's in danger, but some Penguins having to flash away, and with an exploding shot there, it's actually Sizzle who steps back into trouble. The poison from Carbine is enough, and eventually the final kill for now in the bot lane is going to go to the Humber Hunters jungler.
Really nice pickup there as Humber Hunters able to win out on this, but we see once again in the early game making a few too many mistakes, getting caught out a little bit too often. Over-aggression is rife here. And even though they've got this 1.8k gold lead, it's still mistakes being made. They're not really respecting their opponents.
Monox was looking for the play there, not quite able to connect with the Tornado, so unable to go straight in on Purpuri, who did still have the exhaust and the flash available. Meanwhile, Monox seems to have temporarily switched to being a bot laner, is going to head back to the mid lane where Twitch is just pushing the wave in time and time again. Already some of those turret plates picked up by the Humber Hunters. They've got themselves a 2,000 gold lead, but things definitely not as desperate as they were at 9 minutes last time round. The dredge line once again not connecting. Seismic Shove being sending the Nautilus straight back. Nice ultimate coming in as the Gragas keeps himself safe for now. Sizzle trying to get the explosive charge stacks, will get the reset on the rocket jump, but the threaded volleys coming in from some Penguins are so very, very strong. Never moved from Swain, and Jordan is able to get a kill onto Killer Hobo, much like he did in the last game on the opposition support, and the Demonic Ascension is not quite going to get a second kill onto Tristana.
And so that was a really nice play there, able to pick up Killer Hobo, going to get a couple of bot lane shards likely off the back of this as well. But look at the CS difference in the bot side, near double consistently. This has not changed, it's always been doubling. And now Humber Hunters just becoming a stronger and stronger threat. We know that when this Talia back, she can get that GLP if she wants. She can even get the Ludens. It's just going to become so hard to take her down.
Monox did manage to land a knock up there, decided not to go in for the last breath. Lucian still playing safe, still has both the summoners available.
I'm constantly seeing these emotes out of Potpourri, like, consistently. And it reminds me of back in the days when I was casting an unnamed University League, when there was a team in that league that would consistently bind all of their abilities, every single one of them, to the Mastery emote. So you'd see like a Darius swing Q Mastery emote.
That's not annoying at all. I asked the question just the other day on Twitter and had roughly 2 responses to it.
Yeah?
How many emotes do you think it's normal for the average account to have? Like on a main account?
I mean, for the amount that get given away, especially from the TFT stuff, I'd probably say at least upwards of 10. At least. And I believe I'm at about 30 or something like that. And I haven't spent any money on them.
That sounds perfectly normal.
You are about 100, I believe.
Sure, let's say that.
250.
That's closer.
Oh no, is it more or less?
No, I think it's almost exactly that.
Okay.
I think of the non-legacy ones available, there's something like 253, and I think I'm at 239.
You know, I'm really sad by it though.
But
I hate the Evelyn one.
I've not spent a single bit of money on. No, the Evelyn one's rubbish. As we see something that's not rubbish, and Rocket Jump
You've
away
not
from
spent any
Sizzle.
money on emblems?
Not on emotes, not a single penny, unless they've come with a
big
I was already getting. As we see Flash away from Carbine, but immediately blasted back. Nice ultimate coming in from the Gragas again. Lucian trying to dress himself to safety, but here comes the call of the Forge God. We're going to turn our attention to the bot lane because we do see that Nautilus is going forward very, very bravely. The damage not coming in from Sizzle on the Tristana. Look at the low health bars here. Jordan picks up the kill on Killer Hobo as we see Monox trying to get himself to safety, but he just dashes straight back towards an on-rushing set. This is going to be DCI tackle, trying to picking himself up kills on the back of a successful dive from the Ballymena Bears. The Humber Hunters trying to chase down the kill, but they will not find them today.
That was a bit painful to watch if you are a fan of the Humber Hunters, as ends up just being rung around the rosies as the set doesn't pick up anybody, but once again the Ballymena Bears make a good play in the mid lane and they are able to pick up more kills for themselves. This is going really well for them so far. Like, this is they're still 2k down, but at this phase of the game, last time...
Well, they were surrendering in 4 minutes time.
Yeah, exactly. This
That's
is
not
far
happen
better than it was last time around.
First strike of the game still hasn't been taken, neither has Herald.
Twitch is rushing Runans, I believe.
Entirely possible. Could be a static, but Runan seems much more likely.
He could, of course, go Phantom Dancer if he so chooses, but of course, when you've got the Blood Razor already, Runan's makes so much more sense. It makes sense with Twitch as well, because it synergizes with his ultimate incredibly.
I'm surprised that you pick up the Crit Cloak when you could have completed the boots, but I suppose it depends on the gold that you've got in pocket at the time.
Like he might even choose to go for the Storm Razor second, which of course be very useful because of the slow on hit. Really helps if you are a ganking champion, because he is, of course, looking to sneak up on people.
He is rather sneaky at that
Sneaky,
sewer rat.
sneaky.
This is going to be Cloud Dragon being picked up by the Humber Hunters, completely uncontested. Meanwhile, the Herald had been started up by Gragas, but I do believe the Bears have to be careful here. Maybe less careful with the Herald, more careful with the potential dive coming in bot lane.
See, this is the thing I'm not enjoying right now, is this Taliyah has been so far ahead. He has made no effort to use her ultimate anywhere else on the map. There's a really nice one here, at least.
It's going to force the flash out of Nautilus and the rocket jump out of Tristan. And meanwhile, Herald was picked up, I believe. Actually, I can't see it in anyone's inventory, so maybe it wasn't picked up instead. The fight is ongoing as DCI Tackle takes down one and looks for a second. Knockup is going to come in out of 5 Leaf Clover, and that is going to be another kill being picked up by the Ornn. A third of the game. Sizzle being sent back, but caught out by the Never Move, and Carbine gets the kill onto Tristana. Here's the vision of Empire being thrown down by the Swain, who has been absolutely dominant. Picks up a third kill. Jordan on a killing spree.
What a Never Move by the Swain there, gets knocked away by the Buster Shot, but it just doesn't matter, able to pick it up anyway. There's 5 Leaf Clover, he really wants this tower, willing to give up his life for it.
And he will not have to make that trade, instead just picking up the turret on the back of the
gets
Herald.
it first, that's crucial. He was
Great
willing
timing.
to risk it just to make sure he got first tower, didn't get that extra gold injection onto the Taliyah and the Swain, who are so terrifying.
Meanwhile, Twitch looking stronger and stronger by the second. 30 CS up and 2 kills as well in comparison to his opposition jungler, and he's looking for a potential Yasuo pick, but this time we do see Monarchs getting to safety.
You know, I'm actually really excited because Taliyah's getting a skin later this year, and normally skins are paired with buffs for champions. If we get a Taliyah buff and a Taliyah skin on the same patch, I'm dropping my money for that. I'm willing to do that. You know,
you do realise you get the buff even if you don't buy the skin, right?
Yeah, but the skin is the buff. I mean, this is pay to win.
This is rich coming from me, but...
Oh god, what was the number in the end? It was something absurd.
No, just no. It's alright, I'm keeping the game free to play for all of you. Meanwhile...
Stan is what they call a whale in the business.
I can't even argue.
Like, yeah, free-to-play games, when they are made, they talk about, so we're not aiming at the general consumer. Who we were aiming at is, and then just has an image of Stan. This one man, he will keep our business going.
Hey, I've been playing Mark Marrell thoroughly for many years. Maybe one day he might start paying mine, you never know. Oh dear, that's the dream. I mean, obviously I love casting a huge amount, but a big part of the reason is one day I might actually make enough through casting that I've actually gone even with the amount that I've spent on skin.
It is actually a Storm Razor being picked up from Carbine, so it is that more AD heavy option.
Okay. Ooh. This Call of the Forge God being channeled. That's going to be a nice knock-up flash away from some Penguins as he gets himself away. But Monarchs is going to take down Carbine. We do see again Jordan just absolutely popping off in the Demonic Ascension form. Monarchs is losing his health rather quickly as some Penguins gets his kill. Flash forward from 5 Leaf Clover as Ornn tries to find a kill onto some Penguins. Instead finds a culling to the face. Papori getting himself his first kill of this contest.
You made a mistake of diving a very fed Swain. That does not go so well when he just pops his ultimate, stays so healthy, and drains health from every single member. Yasuo gets his first death of the game. Gragas barely escapes, and the Ornn gets his final auto that would have killed the Taliyah cancelled at the very last second, so he doesn't get that shutdown gold. And it looks like that question you asked at the start of the game, is it going to be Ornn losing or Ballymena Bears winning? And unfortunately, it seems like the answer is the Ornn losing.
I mean, you say unfortunately. I don't want the Ballymena Bears to lose. I don't want that for any of our Belong Arena Clash teams, but I do want to see Ornn losing at some point and having its win rate ruined here at Belong Arena Clash. Maybe we'll see less of it as these nerfs come through in the next patch, but we're still having to deal with it for another week. Second dragon of the game is going to be spawning in just a moment. So far, the Ballymena Bears look like they're the ones turning a bit more attention towards it, but the Humber Hunters, they could regroup pretty quickly.
Triforce and the Ninja Tabi picked up for the top lane is going for the Triforce set build over the Black Leader, even against the tank. This is the correct build. Any truers in the chat? This is how you should play Set. This is you go Black Cleaver, then you go tank afterwards. You can still go Bruiser, you can go for like the Titanic plus the Sterix Gauge, but the starter of the Triforce, giving you that extra attack speed, giving you that extra movement speed, is so crucial to actually making him a champion.
That Empire of Vision is just such a massive hitbox, as we see yet again Jordan helping his team control
Empire of Vision
Vision.
was Season 4 Worlds. This is Vision of Empire.
Yes, my bad. Thank you.
Empire of Vision was when pink wards were invisible, and you could place them everywhere, and they costed 50 gold each.
Well, here we go again. The Swain using Demonic Ascension. Carbine, who's now got the Storm Razor completed, able to get a kill. Shut down as we do see the Yasuo taking down some Penguins, but Carbine gets a double, make it a triple, as Yasuo will be the next to die. Still 2 remaining champions. Can Carbine get the Quadra? Sizzle hovering around, but you need to use that rocket jump fast. Jordan takes away the Quadra. DCI tackle finds the Gragas jumping towards him, and with the Vision of Empire's help is able to secure the ace. A dragon will come for the Hunters as well.
Yeah, this is snowballing far out of control. 5k gold lead, nowhere near as high as last game, but this Twitch is becoming so scary, and after picking up those 3 kills, after picking up so much gold, he is so much closer to being relevant. He could even legitimately just go for a straight up Infinity Edge now and solo carry these fights.
And we are going to see Second Herald spawning very shortly, so that one will be able to be used by the Humber Hunters if they secure it in the next minute.
It's not going to be enough time, I don't think.
No,
they need to reset right now, so this Herald is going to despawn.
Yeah, it looks quite likely at this point. They would have had to go straight to it, and they don't want to do that. Don't want to risk a fight.
Exactly.
But that being said, the recalls have been cancelled. I think Carbine and his team do want to get this second Herald so they can charge it down at a time when Baron is up.
It depends if Set is there at the time or not. It looks like he might be in position, but no, they are resetting now. They cannot.
You're
go for
absolutely
this.
right.
Too many members of the Ballymena Bears on the map. It would be very risky. They might even end up conceding it if they're not careful, but no, 20 seconds left, it's done.
Yeah,
it despawns in 5 seconds, 4, 2, 1. It just despawned.
Yep.
It only stays until the 55-second mark if it's in combat at the time. Because that Baron spawn animation takes 5 seconds, they just remove it.
So we're not going to see the second Herald charge, but we are seeing the second charge coming from the Humber Hunters as they look to continue their dominance here in Group 4 of the Long Arena Clash, wanting to get themselves one step closer to the knockout rounds, one step closer to the final on the Insomnia Esports stage. The flash away, the dredge line to safety from the Nautilus.
They layered the CC too heavily there, as the E was used from the Set, when if he actually left it, would have been stunned for longer, even would have got a bit more damage.
Monarch's completely caught out here. We do see the Call of Forge God coming in, but it's too late to save the mid laner of the Ballymena Bears. He's going to be killed pretty much straight off the bat. We see the Demonic Ascension already used. That's going to be Blade of the Rune King being triggered onto Killer Hobo, and the Killer Hobo is killed in his tracks.
Think of how many stacks Swain has got this game, because his kill participation's so high. Those stacks, every single stack you get when you activate your ultimate, you get a big amount of health instantly. So I want to see how much health he actually does get, how tanky he gets instantly.
Massive face breaker out of tackle there, and Carbine gets his 7th kill of the game. This Twitch is looking absolute fire right now as we see the rocket jump being used defensively by Sizzle, just trying to stay alive. The turret will be downed, and the Humber Hunters now find themselves with an 8,000 gold lead at 21 minutes. The last time we saw them pushing onto an inhibitor turret, we saw the surrender coming in. The Ballymena Bears, they've got more fight in them this game. Can they continue to stave off the Hunters?
You know, at least this time they let the Baron spawn before they took an inhibitor, as now they can play towards these key objectives, and they can try and end the game cleanly, because the Humber Hunters, especially when you compare it to our first series, have looked so much more dominant. The early phases didn't necessarily go in their favor. They did, at least in CS, but they were giving up too many kills. They were leaking too many kills that they just really shouldn't be. And a bit of over-aggression did definitely show. Lack of vision control definitely showed, and I think that can be exploited by other teams.
A massive improvement, though, from the Bears in this game, as we were saying, and it does feel like if they can continue to do this as the season goes on, they'll give themselves something to really grow on and to try and propel themselves forward as we come into future splits, even if maybe in this one, realistically, they're not going to be able to push towards the playoffs.
Okay, I got to give it at least a little bit of credit to the Taliyah here. Went for that Oblivion Orb, but has sat on it. Didn't go for the Forbidden Book, is going now for the Liandry's Torment, which pairs incredibly well with the Hextech GOP. The burn damage she's going to be doing is absurd if she lands a full combo. She's so far ahead with this 30 magic penetration. You can look at the magic resistance on the other team. That Tristana and that Yasuo are going to
basically doing true damage at this point.
Exactly.
Yet again, we do see Swain just pushing forward, consistently able to do whatever he wants on this 7-1-9 scoreline. The Zhonya's now completed, so we can see some golden plays out of Jordan.
No, I just realized that Humber Hunters picked all their champions in order, didn't they? They picked the set first pick.
Yes.
The next rotation was the Twitch Lucian, and the final rotation was the Talia and the Swain. Yeah, this is.
I think you're
it
exactly
didn't look
right.
like it at first, but they've managed to pull it off, where they do the effective pro draft strat of just picking all your champions in order.
Meanwhile, Monarchs, with this static shift, is able to clear out. Has got the Infinity Edge as well, so decent damage will be coming out of the Yasuo, who's running a 4-3-2 scoreline. He's got to get such a massive multi-man ult, though.
Ornn needs one more level before he can start giving him that extra
The Molten
gold.
Edge.
The Molten Edge will come through that first ornament of the game. And, oh no, I actually see this now. Dean is going for the Iceborne Gauntlet upgrade. Ooh.
Yeah, Frozen Fist is not going to be the most gold efficient one, especially when you could have had the Zhonya's upgraded. Flash forward from Monarchs, he's looking to try and make this play. Here comes the call to Forge God. They think they've isolated Jordan, but he's gone golden in demonic form already, and
So
he's just
tanky.
waiting for his team to arrive. Here they come, Lucian double tapping onto the Ornn, who's trying to zone away. Jordan is still in the middle of everyone, already having picked up one kill, double kill coming in for Lucian. Twitch takes down the Tristana, Nautilus sent running to his base, and I don't think he's gonna make it, folks. It's gonna be the Humber Hunters picking up the clean ace on the back of a double kill for Carbine. They look towards the inhibitor turret, and at 24 minutes, they are gonna wreck the base of the Ballymena Bears.
And this should be it. The Humber Hunters looking so clean, that final fight. You know, the full house sets full of Twitches as the Twitch picks up 3 and Set picks up 2, ending the game really cleanly.
Death timers are still low, though. There might be time for one heroic stand from the Ballymena Bears. They need to wipe the Humber Hunters right here, right now. The second Nexus turret will die, just as Gragas does as well. Here comes Monarchs. He's looking to try and do whatever he can to save the game for his team. Carbine picks up the kill onto Tristana. Ornn is right in the middle of everybody, and Trist, with that explosive shot, does take down the Twitch from beyond the grave. That's a massive haymaker out of tackle, but he is being shredded as well. Jordan manages to kill off the Nautilus, but not before Ornn takes down the Set. That's going to be Papori finishing off the Yasuo. This could be the game, going over to the Humber Hunters. That's going to be a dash onto the turret that's a little on the bold side. Ornn is back. He's been sent straight back into the fountain to try and get some of his health back. The Humber Hunters are playing with their food. Some Penguins blasted back by an explosive barrel out of this Gragas, but it feels too little too late. This is the ultimate in base defenses. Hit the freaking Nexus Hunters, otherwise you might lose your chance. Call to the Forge God with the knock-up, the shutdown, and the Hunters do not manage to close out the games. The Bears are hanging on by a thread.
I'm actually very upset with the amount of disrespect we just saw from the Humber Hunters. This is...
It might come back to bite them.
I really hope it does, because I do not condone that kind of play. They just finished the Nexus at that point. It is disrespectful to continue at that point. But all the same, Ballymena Bears, they're still going to continue to fight back. They've managed to pick up a couple thousand gold in shutdowns. The Molten Edge is completed for Monarchs. And they are going to try and find a key fight where they get this multi-man knock-up. The Ornn, still incredibly strong. We can see the Gargoyle Stone Plate picked up, so he can just frontline forever. Now that Runan's Hurricane, nearly the Infinity Edge now picked up the Twitch. He is going to be terrifying, but we saw he got a little bit too ballsy in that fight, and Ornn was right on top of him within a moment's notice.
So, the Humber Hunters have essentially just shown us what can happen if you keep doing what G2 do at the end of every single game.
But G2 don't do that. G2
Not at that
actually
level.
finished the Nexus.
I'll tell you what, this is a catch here, and some Penguins in all sorts of trouble. Carbine does manage to take down Sizzle off screen, but looking at some Penguins, he's having to run away from the Ornn. Gragas hovering in the back line is going to be there for safety. Jordan going into Monarch form again. Carbine looking for more and more damage, but he's been caught out, and he gets absolutely slaughtered by the Yasuo, who comes in and rips through the rat. Now trying to dash on, getting the last breath onto Papori, but the Lucian will survive, will pick up a double kill, and now will this be the game? Jordan and the rest of his team chasing down the Gragas, who is the last man standing for the Ballymena Bears.
A valiant fight back from Ballymena Bears. They were over 10,000 gold down and were still picking up kills in these fights. And that's really a situation you should not be in if you are the Humber Hunters. as we are just going to see a slow and drawn-out end to the game.
Sizzle has come back to life. Tristana looking to defend this one. Will have a Molten Edge of their own very, very shortly when the Ornn upgrades this one. Meanwhile, the waves yet again being cleared away from this Nexus that is down round about 75% health. Another inhibitor turret will fall. The Humber Hunters, they're playing it slightly safer now, bit cautious after the mistakes that were made around the Nexus last time round. Court of the Forge God is going to come in. We're going to see 5-Leaf Clover yet again getting a knock-up onto Jordan, who does not have an ultimate available. He uses his Zhonya's to keep himself alive, but Sizzle's in the background doing a decent bit of damage. Shut down onto the Swain, and this is going to be yet another kill for the Ballymena Bears. They've gone 2-1 in this fight. Papori on the backline, double tapping for days. The exhaust used onto 5-Leaf Clover, but he's so damn tanky. This is going to be Papori unable to chase any further as 5-Leaf Clover gets to the safety of his base. Sizzle gets tagged. He rocket jumps away, but it's not in time. Papori now godlike, and at 28 minutes, finally will we see the Humber Hunters close this one out. Some Penguins finally attacking the Nexus, but here comes an Ornn on full health. 5-Leaf Clover with the chase, looking towards Papori, not going to be able to get the knock-up on this one. With the Brittle Breath is able to do decent damage, but another turret goes down in the top lane. This is going to be Carbine, not even with his team, just taking turrets for fun.
And the Humber Hunters have just completely closing this one out. The minions are likely to end it. It is just 2 waves of supers bounding on the Nexus, and it is so difficult to get rid of. Of course, Carbine can just use a Q, walk around, and finish off the Nexus himself should he so choose.
Massive kudos to the Ballymena Bears. They
Yeah.
are still putting up a fight. They are still taking fights and picking up kills.
Massive respect to
You'd
them,
think
yeah.
that maybe they would not be able to, and they are really showing what they are made of. Great spirit coming out of our debuting team.
Still going for the hard engages, still trying to make plays, and of course the Ornn doing so much work here.
And it just goes to show when you've got a champion whose team is this far behind that it's still that relevant, just how crazy Ornn is. Not that we didn't know it before. It feels like we talk about it every week, and we kind of are at the moment. We're in a position
When
where
he
we
gets
have
nerfed,
to.
we'll stop.
Exactly, when he gets nerfed or when he gets banned by one of our teams at last. Meanwhile, 5-Leaf Clover looking for yet another pick. Got to be careful though, because the Humber Hunters, of course, have got the element of surprise in this 12-4 and 6 Twitch.
When you look at this, and regardless of the assists here, you see a Tristana and a Taliyah with the same amount of kills. When Tristana has 1.5 items, and Taliyah is going on her third here. This is amazing that Ballymena Bears have been able to fight as long as they have in terms of actually picking up kills in these fights. These fights are not whitewashes. They are picking up kills. They are finding engages, picking off key members, getting shutdown golds.
That being said, we might be approaching Custer's last stand. It's going to be Sizzle caught out by Carbine on the side, but that's a nice haymaker coming out of the set. And a huge ultimate too. That's 3 kills, the triple, the quadra for the Twitch. And just like that, a pentakill for Carbine ends the game as the Humber Hunters will be triumphant against the Ballymena Bears. The bravest of fights from the Bears, but eventually the Hunters put the final shot in, putting the Bears out of their misery and taking the Nexus.
And at 30 minutes into the game, that is going to end. 16 minutes in the first, 30 minutes in the second. Humber Hunters did look rather convincing as the stronger team of the two, but the Ballymena Bears, like we said, strong fight back, strong ability to continue in spite of those conditions. So credit to them, but that is our last game of the night.
It was indeed. Earlier on, we saw the Saints taking that 2-0 up against the Rams. Here we saw the Ballymena Bears losing out 2-0 to excuse me, the Humber Hunters, who came through very strong, showing why they're top of that 4th group. Be really interesting to see what happens near the end of the split, because they've already taken down the Claymore, so a lot of people thought we're going to top that group. We'll be back next week with more action. Thursday nights are League of Legends night here on Belong Arena Clash. From myself, Stanley Greyheart Barker, and the wonderful Stuart Sin McLeod, everyone in our production, thank you to you wonderful people in Twitch chat. See you next week.